What is going on, everyone? We are back with the Pound and Slash Marvel Media Podcast. I'm Slash. We're back with Damia. Pound's called in today.
I'm back here with these nuts.
He's also got a wedding next week, so he won't be around next week.
Oh, God, yeah.
But it's not his wedding. Don't worry. Ladies, he's still available.
Oh, I got the camera.
So we're going to forego the news because there's not a whole lot going on. I guess I could talk about a few things.
What you want to talk about?
So the guy that... I'm not good with names, people. Kiss my ass. The guy that directed Shang-Chi
Oh, yeah.
has signed up to be the director for Wonder Man's TV show, Disney Plus, the 10 Rings Disney Plus show.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward towards that.
A Shang-Chi Part 2 that has not actually been put on a calendar yet. And he is actually going to be the director for the Kang Dynasty Avengers movie that's supposed to be coming out in 2 years. So I'm excited because, again, I feel like Shang-Chi is probably the best overall directed MCU movie in Phase 4. I'm excluding Spider-Man No Way Home just because I don't really consider it fully just MCU.
It's not.
Sony has a huge part in that. But, again, Shang-Chi I thought was fantastic. For that to be the first, what I consider real movie in Phase 4.
You're going to get a whole bunch of people talking shit right now.
No, actually, a lot of people agree. A lot of people try to ignore Black Widow even fucking exists.
But, okay, so even with that, I looked at Disney Plus and how the timeline was and everything else. This is what I really wish that Sony just allowed Spider-Man to be part of. Because he fits really well inside the timeline. So,
right.
I was looking at it. So, if you look at Civil War, I know Black Widow will be right behind it. Then Spider-Man, and then Black Panther. Some people are going to disagree with me, but if you look at how they talk about it, they speak about it in the news. The king died, which was like 7 days ago.
Right.
And Black Widow was right there. Oh, I told on you, and she took off running. And that's how it's supposed to start. And Spider-Man is right there because, again, he took him home. I wish they really put him in his timeline because it would really fit very well.
Right. But no, oh, there they go.
You moved them, yes, you did.
But no, so there was that. There's now apparently been confirmed. This is rumor, by the way. I don't know. It's supposedly supposed to be confirmed at DD or DC or whatever the fuck they're calling it. Another convention that's supposed to be going on that Marvel's going to be involved in. Heroes for Hire is apparently coming back.
Yes. Okay. So
and it's supposed to be Luke Cage and Iron Fist. I hear they're fully recasting Iron Fist.
They are.
But they are going to try to get the guy that played Luke Cage back.
Well, they asked about it. I heard the rumor too, and I actually seen the actual interview because they was talking about the young lady who played Jessica Jones because they probably bringing her back, and they was making indications because they had pictures going around of these two on the set. So,
right.
I do know they supposed to. And when they first talking about the project, they supposed to recast everybody.
Well, when they first talked about it, other than Charlie Cox has pretty much been a for sure Daredevil is coming back. Jessica Jones and Luke Cage were up in the air. Iron Fist was for sure being replaced. I hear he wants to continue it, but with everybody not really liking him, and plus his unwillingness to actually train to be what he needs to be. The MCU, Feige and them didn't want anything to do with him. The thing is, so Jessica Jones is the only one between her and Luke Cage that 100% has said she wants to come back.
Yes.
She's like, I loved being this character. She actually just recently posted a picture on her Instagram where she's restyled her hair to look like Jessica Jones. She was wearing the leather jacket and everything. And that's not a confirmation that she is going to be the character, but she's talking about like she wants to do this again. The guy from Luke Cage said he would be interested if the timing was right, but at the time when they were interviewing him, this was a while ago, he was still filming whatever show it is that he does on HBO. HBO?
No,
Showtime?
No, it's
whatever
CBS.
It is. Is it CBS?
Yeah, Evil. Which,
okay.
By the way, it's a really good show.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you have to. It's a really good show. I think you'll enjoy it.
But yeah, and here's the thing. They need to get him back if they're going to do it. The reason I say this, I swear to God, he is the only person, now that I've seen him play the role, that I can say he looks just like his comic counterpart. 100% like his comic counterpart. It's unfucking canny. Well, his current comic counterpart. Not his original Power Man look with the flat top fro thing. No. But...
Well, again, the bad part is, I like the fact that they made him big, but not overly big.
Right.
Like, not muscle on top of muscle and everything else. I like the fact that because of the hoodies that he wears out of tribute for the situation that's happening in the real world, that's why he wears the hoodies. Trademark. So, and when he does wear his signature color yellow, it's always something on it with him at the same time. I think that's kind of cool too. But I can't see nobody paying Luke Cage either.
The only thing that concerns me, if they bring Luke Cage back, and this is just from because obviously in the MCU, it's not exactly a continuation of the Netflix show. They're kind of soft rebooting it.
Yes.
Is what they've called it. But my main concern, if they bring Luke Cage back, is the guy that played one of his arch nemesis is now cast as Blade in the MCU. And I don't know if I can get used to them being on screen together as in a possible ally situation in a future project, say like Secret Wars. They would obviously have to fight side by side because they're in the and only because they were both in the Luke Cage for season 1. He ended up dying midway through season 1 before Cottonmouth showed up. But yeah, so I don't remember what his name is. His last name is really weird.
Oh, I know he's on that. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. When they said they were casting him as Blade, I was excited because I was like, to be honest, he looks a lot like a young Blade. So I could see him as being that character.
My question, would he be bulking up? Because again, Blade wasn't really a big dude.
I think he's going to get cut. I don't think he's expected to put on weight.
Okay.
At least not much. And again, there's a lot of people, even with that casting, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, why didn't you get Wesley Snipes? And I'm like, the motherfucker's like 58 years old. He's not going to be able to be Blade for 10, 15 years.
You know, Wesley Snipes even complained about that, too. He said, why can't I be like a canon in it? Why can't I be like a special feature in the movie also, too? You had your time. Granted, we appreciate that you set the foundation for the Marvel movies because he actually brought Marvel back.
Well, Feige did say he wants to get him involved, but I think it's going to be in Secret Invasion. Because they want him in as Blade. They're wanting to bring him, Nicolas Cage in as Ghost Rider, and then somebody else. And there's even rumors that Chris Evans might show up as Human Torch in one of them.
I think we had this conversation about Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider.
No, he needs to go away.
Yes, please do.
Worst fucking Marvel movie adaptation for a character I can fucking think of, as far as a specific character. I'm not gonna say it's the worst Marvel movie, because trust me, Punisher Warzone fucking beats it by far. But at least that guy kind of resembles Punisher, whereas Nicolas Cage acts nothing like.
He was a joke. I think he's wanted to be a superhero so bad that he actually took whatever he could get it. So, only time I love Nicolas Cage is when he played Bad Dad off of Kick-Ass.
No, there were several Nicolas Cage movies I do like.
No, I'm talking about superhero-wise.
Oh, superhero-wise. I was gonna say, because I loved, like, National Treasure, I thought was really good.
Oh, even Disney's doing that. I seen that too.
Yeah, but he's not gonna be in it, which sucks, because he's a part of that. So National Treasure was really good. What was the other one? Con Air. I wasn't the biggest fan of Con Air, but it wasn't because of him. He did fine.
What about The Rock?
The Rock was good.
Yeah.
No, the Con Air wasn't because of Nicolas Cage. I think that was just the story. I wasn't a big fan of just the story. I thought the story was just kind of for me.
Face Off.
Oh, Face Off was fire.
There we go.
I could do without any more rap bars where people are saying Face Off. But no, so, yeah, there's rumors they're bringing Heroes for Hire in, and they're saying which this one kind of throws me off because it's only going to be Luke Cage and Iron Fist in that series.
I think that's how it started off.
I was going to say, I know Heroes for Hire when it was a little bit later and Daredevil was involved. Was it Daredevil? Nope. Or Jessica Jones?
Nope.
Was neither of them?
Neither one of them.
Or was it Shang-Chi in the comics?
What happens is... I
know there's like a third one that jumps...
The title itself becomes... It gets... Missy becomes the leader of...
Misty Knight?
Yep. Missy and Shang-Chi and everybody else end up becoming a new group for Heroes for Hire. So starting off, Heroes for Hire is Luke Cage and Iron Fist because, again, New York itself, and they go around taking care of what needs to be done. They even did a little bit of it in Avengers Heroes, the one that you love so much, because Penn ended up hiring Luke Cage and Iron Fist to go find his suit, and that's how you find out Long ended up having the suit.
Now, coming back to the Daredevil series, they I don't know if we talked about this last week, me and Ralph, or Ralph and I, but it's going to be a whopping 18 episodes long.
Yes, they were so happy about that.
I don't know how to feel about that.
Are you not happy? Or...
I don't know.
Okay, well, now this is another thing to think about too. If they give it 18 episodes and it's going to be on Disney Plus, are they cutting it in half? Or is it going to be 4 hours like it was on Netflix? Because that actually could balance it out. Think about it. If there's half hours, then they could do 18. If they did an hour long, they could have did the 9 hour episodes.
Well, here's what worries me about it. I wouldn't even mind 18 1-hour long episodes. What worries me about it is every other show has ran the 6 1-hour or 10. There was only one show that was 10 30-minute episodes. That was the very first one. But everything else has been 6 1-hour episodes. If you're going to an 18-episode format, does that also mean you're going to release them all at once and let people binge in their own time? Or are you legit going to run for 4.5 months for one show?
Ooh.
That's where my concern comes in, because
that is a good point.
18 weeks, one episode a week, that comes out to 4.5 months. 4.5 months. In a schedule that's already packed full of 4 to 5 shows a year, or 4 to 5 movies a year, 6 to 7 shows a year. I don't know how they're going to be able to pull that off unless they're going to start running multiple shows at the same time.
I think they might be, because again, they're getting themselves...
That's going to make our job harder, by the way.
Well, again, they trying to... And I did looking at the fans. They probably got a lot of complaints for investing into these characters, and then you said, like you was talking about Netflix used to do all the time, you have to wait like a year or more for other episodes. So, while we're watching Daredevil, we're getting these other shows prepared, like Echo. The movies is getting ready to come out. So while y'all waiting for these, you'll have something to be entertaining y'all. Maybe we'll be stretching it out because of the schedule. Like I said, November, Black Panther. So we're getting y'all ready, because August, September, October, we don't have things in play. When is Echo coming out?
Or if you're talking about Echo's not till next year, late next year.
Okay, so we already got She-Hulk that's coming out just
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
So after She-Hulk, what's after that?
What was the next show? There's one more show that comes out. I know I Am Groot is one that's supposed to be coming out this year.
Yeah, but let's think about it. So again, we get in Daredevil. We want to show you what we could do. We appreciate the foundation that Netflix started, but let's go ahead and knock it up a little bit. Especially more characters that they might add to this platform.
Right. One other thing, as far as the Daredevil show, we've only been confirmed that Charlie Cox is coming back. I want old girl to come back as Karen Page. She did an excellent Karen Page.
Wait, it's not just him. It's Kingpin's coming back too.
Well, yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio is coming back as Kingpin. He's coming. Charlie Cox is coming back as Daredevil. I don't remember what her name is, but the lady that played Karen Page, I really liked her as Karen Page in the Netflix series, so I'm hoping they bring her back. And I'm kind of hoping they bring back Foggy. The guy that played Foggy actually was pretty decent.
I
know. But I don't know. Here's the thing. Again, we just haven't heard anything about those two characters.
It depends on where they started at, too. All right, they go off Daredevil Rebirth. And the costume itself is indicating the hand. So, is Elektra going to be showing up? I wonder if they're going to
bring back Elektra. Ooh, she was a good Elektra.
No, I say, is she coming back too?
There's just so much that goes into bringing back a series that's been gone for a while. That leaves so many question marks.
I want to see Bullseye.
Yeah, I could do without Bullseye. But then again, I didn't see the season he was in. I only saw the first 2 seasons of Daredevil.
I don't think Bullseye was in. He wasn't in the season.
Wasn't Bullseye the one that was portraying Daredevil in season 3 or 4?
I gotta take a look at it again, but I don't think,
because somebody was a fake Daredevil, and I'm pretty sure it was Bullseye.
No, because even with that, they didn't introduce Bullseye like that. He was a contractor because Elektra fell in love with Matt, he said, all right, you're messing me up. And I feel like that would be a great indication of having him in it.
Okay. As a part of his schemes, Daredevil Season 3 saw the Kingpin manipulate another villain, FBI Special Agent Benjamin Dex Poindexter, in Netflix's Daredevil show. Bullseye is in the comics. So, yeah, it was Bullseye, but he didn't have the Bullseye name yet.
That's not fun.
Because I was going to say, I remember seeing the episode where he confronts that guy in a church. But I saw that over at a friend's house. Because, again, I stopped watching the Netflix shows after The Defenders.
Even with The Defenders, it was a great thing, but it was not the original Defenders. You only use those characters because, again, like we speak about the MCU, we're going to build something on which you already see.
One of the things I did like about Defenders is, whack as this is, y'all can hate Iron Fist as much as you want, but watching him punch fucking Luke Cage across the alley into a fucking door was pretty dope.
You realize that's how they actually, a miscommunication. That's how they was actually fighting each other when they first met each other too. My best scene out of all the Defenders, well, I got two of them, is when you see Daredevil handing him his ass. That's what made him so corny.
My favorite scene in all of Defenders is the first time they all fight together in the offices when they're going up against Sigourney Weaver's people.
The hand.
And they're crashing through the walls and stuff and jumping through doors. And the way the camera work was done for that entire fight was so good.
Okay, I got another one for you. And this is like one of the best ones too. And they didn't even do it on her own show. It's when you actually show the measurement of her strength. Jessica Jones, when they was at the bottom and she held up the elevator, and you see them looking up. Holy shit. Literally showing her strength. She has the wire, she has the whole thing holding them up. That's the only time they actually show her measurement of her strength.
Kind of. Do you remember the very first episode of Jessica Jones? When the guy's trying to drive away from her.
Oh, you're talking about her friends. She held the car up and everything.
And she's one-handed lifted the car up. She's like, "You gonna stop? I'm not. I can hold this up all night."
Okay, but that was cute too. She dropped it. But literally, like I said, when she picked him up, dropped him down, knocked Danny out with one drop of a punch. That was measurement. But her really showing her real strength, like showing her. Out of all the Jessica Jones show, I didn't like it. They didn't show her power of her flight.
Do you know how long it took me to watch the first Jessica Jones season? Because of my best friend. He approaches me. He's like, "It's a great season. You need to watch it. Great show." And this is obviously before we knew there were going to be more of her show. And I'm like, "That's cool. What's it about?" And he starts going into the description, and he's like, "Yeah, they got the Purple Man in there, and he's able to basically control people just by talking to him." And I'm like, "This sounds stupid. Him as a villain sounds fucking terrible."
Oh, you have it.
And then I watched it, and I was like, this is fucking dope. So much so, he has shown up once in the Daredevil comics.
And not just Daredevil. He actually showed up for Luke Cage. He used to have Luke Cage.
Oh, Luke Cage isn't where I'm at yet. He hasn't even been introduced. But his first showing up was in the Daredevil comic, and they actually used a lot of the scenes from that first Daredevil comic, but translated into Jessica Jones. Yep. That I was like, looking back after reading the comic, I was like, dude, I remember Jessica being the one to do this. Like the one where he talks Daredevil into basically walking off the edge of the roof. And I was like, bro! It's so good. Anyways.
It really is. He's a really good character. But I like characters like that because he's not physically strong.
Right.
But just the fact that what he can do is very still dangerous.
Except in the comics, he wasn't born with it. It was a...
It's a mutant.
Oh, no. Well, no, because in the comics, he got his power by... he was robbing a chemical plant. And there was this purple, chemical that one of the guards shot, and it spilled on him.
And it made his whole skin.
And it changed him purple, and he actually talked to the guards. He was like, "Get away from me!" And they actually backed up, and then he was like, "Why don't you guys leave?" And that's where he discovered he was able to control people.
What a great power.
It was a good one. To be honest, though, again, I follow this list. Which is like the release order mixed with like making sure things stay in canon and in order. And I'm kind of to this point where I almost dread Daredevil comics showing up. I always end up enjoying them as I'm reading them, but they're way more wordy than everything else because there's a lot of talking in Daredevil. And I'm like, man, this is going to take me like 35 minutes to get through this fucking comic.
You just want straight to action. You want all action.
No, I'm so used to so a lot of the newer comics aren't as wordy. And it's not so much that there's action, but there's a lot of times where somebody will be sitting there just staring off into the distance or whatever, and brooding. What the fuck ever. And a big problem that I have noticed they kind of got away from in newer comics than back in the 60s is in the 60s, the characters are describing everything that they're doing as they're doing it. And I know why they're doing it. They're helping readers understand what's going on, because in one panel, he might be doing 5 things, but they're only showing a picture of one, but he's describing how he's getting from point A to point B. Yep. They don't do that as much now. And for me, I get annoyed sometimes when I'm reading, and I'm like, dude, I don't need a play-by-play. Fucking fight. A lot of that's probably manga. I'm so used to reading manga, and they don't do that at all in manga.
Well, again, like you said, I think we had this discussion that the creators, even with the movies and stuff like that, they want they cater to the people who already know. And like you said, now they're redoing it because you have new fans, so we kind of want to explain to y'all what's going on. Even though you're not jumping to it, we want to explain to you what the situation is.
Right.
DC, I'm trying to think, one of the DC comics I was reading, and you can see him, I think it was one of the Batmans, and Batman is explaining, I have to go through this. I got to see what's going on this page. But like you said, you don't see it, but you see his hand, he's going around the office. Yes, last night, Commissioner Gordon called me and told me about this case, and now I'm hearing that. It's like, what brought him to that point?
Well, something like that makes sense, though.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me. But when I'm reading a comic panel, and it's like, oh man, again, I'm making this shit up as far as what I'm actually going to say. But please understand, this is pretty much what it's like. He's like, say it's Spider-Man. And Spider-Man will be web-slinging, and they'll show a picture of him, freaking out midair or whatever. And the thought bubble or the description will legit say something along the lines of, I was web-swinging and was going to appear behind him, but he managed to clip my web with a bullet, and now I'm falling. And I'm like, no shit! That's what the surprised look on your face is for! I didn't even need that entire panel!
He said he wanted to show you. That's what it was.
And sometimes they go into super fucking detail that I'm just like, look, this is cool, but, can we move on? But no. I'm trying to think, was there any other small news? Oh, people are complaining about VFX. Okay. This is one I wanted to touch on. Okay. I touched on it a little bit last week. Okay. All week, there have been VFX artists that work for some of the companies that Marvel subcontracts, that have been coming on Twitter or whatever other social media they may show up on, and have been talking about how much it sucks to work on a Marvel movie. And there are some valid issues that I can understand. A prime example, they will say that they will get through pretty much the entire VFX of a movie, and then Marvel will come back out of nowhere and change almost the entire last third of the movie. So now they have to redo special effects for a whole third of a movie when they were almost done. And Marvel doesn't come back with extra money because they've already paid the money that they're going to the companies for them to pay their workers, so forth and so on. Okay? I can understand where something like that would be frustrating.
Yeah, I will too.
And honestly, Marvel, stop changing shit mid-go. That's an easy fix. Write the story that you want to write and stick with it. The only time I can see that being an issue where you have to change things is when stupid fucking things happen, like the actress that plays Shuri wants to go around running her fucking mouth, and now you got to find a way to write her off of a fucking script. And here's the thing. I'm not even mad at the chick that plays Shuri because, she has her beliefs. She should be allowed to express those beliefs, even if they don't necessarily line up with what Marvel's is.
Yeah.
That should never be a reason to fucking get rid of somebody. But I can understand also working for businesses that I've worked for where sometimes, especially if you're in that big of a limelight, you don't want them to shine what you would consider badly on you. Mm-hmm. I get it. It sucks, but I get it. And I can also understand when they do decide to change things along those lines. I understand that. We're asking DC to do the same thing right now. How many people are out there saying, hey, we need to get rid of all of Amber Heard's scenes? Well, okay, if they get rid of all of Amber Heard's scenes, all of a sudden they're at least going to have to film something new to fill up the story. So, like, I get it. Now, here's what I don't agree with. One of the guys specifically said, sometimes we work 7 days a week, averaging 68 hours a week. 68 hours a week. 7 days. Or 63. It was 63 hours a week. He said 63 hours a week, 7 days. At first, without thinking about it, I was like, man, that sounds like a lot. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I go in, and I realize what he's saying is sometimes they work 7 days a week for 9 hours a day. That's not that bad in terms of hours, right? Mm-hmm. On top of it, they're saying that they don't make enough. They don't make enough money. The average VFX artist makes anywhere between $80,000 a year to $120,000 a year. Big gap, depends on how long you've been in the industry, what company you work for. So you're telling me for $80,000 a year, working 7 days a week, sometimes working 7 days a week, 9-hour days, doing what you love, what you went to college to do. And chances are, let's be real, most of them probably enjoy watching the Marvel movies too. Marvel's a very popular thing. Some of them might not. But you're doing what you love doing. This is what you went to college for. This is what you pursued a career in. And you're going to complain saying you don't make enough when you're making $80,000 to $120,000. And that's base pay. That's base pay. Bonuses, on average, per year, range anywhere from $400 something, basically if you're like starter level, to almost, if I remember correctly, it was like $15,000 for a bonus in a year. Your complaint is no longer valid to me. Especially, and here's the thing, and there were some people I even said, well, you know, working a desk job, that's a lot of time to be sitting at a desk. My last office job that I worked before the one I'm at now, I was averaging, in a 6-year period, averaging 80 hours a week. 80. 3 of those 6 years, I didn't even take a vacation. 2.5 of those years, I didn't even have a day off. I worked 7 days a week. 80 to 110, 120 hours a week. Yeah, I worked my ass off as a young adult. And now you're going to sit here and bitch and complain over 63 hours making $80,000? I was making far less than $80,000 working that kind of time.
And let's think about this realistically.
At a desk, by the way. At a desk where I was expected to meet a quota.
And let's think about this. We're talking about a job that you're not even doing for a whole year.
Yeah.
You're only for a certain time period. And once that time is up, you might or might not be on another project, but you're working on a project. And not like you didn't read this contract. It's not like you don't know what you're getting into.
I also bet you can work from home.
And yet, you're complaining about changes that needs to be made. I'm like you. Shut the hell up.
Yeah. And then it's like, and another thing that absolutely baffles me too, right, is Marvel puts bids out to companies like a contracting service does.
No, they don't.
They allow bids to come in. Basically, these companies like, hey, I would be willing to do that movie for this amount of money.
Yep.
And then another company will put their bids in. Another company will put their bids in. And at that point, Marvel chooses which one they want, and I'm sure they balance, you know, price with how well their effects are. They probably look into what movies they've done, what kind of effects they put together. Okay, now at the end of the day, these individual workers that are working for these companies need to stop being pissed off at Marvel, because honestly, it's not even just Marvel that's doing VFX in a lot of their movies now. Everybody is. We're that's the point we're at. Practical effects, and let's be real, most of you guys that are out here talking about, oh no, we need to go back to using more practical effects. I mean, if you guys want to run around with a dude that's nowhere near as big as the Hulk running around in green fucking paint, I mean, that's on you. But I'm telling you right now, Lou Ferrigno as Hulk, to me, boring.
Yeah.
compared to what we have now. As much as people want to talk bad about Ruffalo, look, honestly, I cannot judge any actual Hulk character based on their actual actors' performances because none of them are the actual characters. It's all CGI.
Yep.
Ruffalo's a fantastic older Bruce Banner. I've got no issues with his Bruce Banner. Do I think Edward Norton was better? Yes.
I'm sorry, I have to agree with you on that one. I love him too.
Edward Norton's fantastic, but he was also younger. That's what they weren't going for young Bruce Banner when they hired Ruffalo. But no. Without VFX on it, let's be real, most of our Marvel movies would just be kind of mid. Have you guys seen Punisher Warzone, who hardly used any visual effects?
Going for that.
Yes, I do.
That's like your go-to.
If we want
to talk about garbage, anything in the industry, that's your movie you can go to.
Do you guys know how shitty the fucking Ghost Rider character looks in the fucking Nicolas Cage movies? I mean, if that's what everybody wants to go back to. But I'm telling you now, I ain't gonna watch them fucking movies.
Nobody will.
Legally.
Well, nobody will anyway, so.
But no, what these individual dudes need to do is they need to start getting on their company's asses. Because the big problem is, then you also have people saying, well, yeah, but if... Because I even seen this, they're like, well, yeah, well, if we go back to Marvel with complaints, after we're done with the movie, they'll blackball us. How are they going to blackball you? Because you literally... They literally can't go to other companies and be like, hey, you shouldn't hire this company. Because you know what? You're available when other people aren't going to be, because they're going to be working on Marvel movies. And here's what happens. If all of you start doing it, all of you go back to Marvel and say, hey, we need you to stop changing things, and you guys all start bidding at higher prices, the worst Marvel can do is end up creating their own VFX division. And then all of a sudden, you guys are all open to do all these other movies that are out there.
Don't put it out there, because somebody might be listening today and be like, oh, that's a really good idea. I don't know why they ain't thinking of them themselves.
Honestly, they should.
I know. At least they can control. And again, like you said,
I actually thought they did until this whole thing came out. When this whole thing happened, and I was like, oh, Marvel doesn't even do their own fucking VFX?
I was surprised Disney have it. Look, at the end of the day, Disney controls everything. Let's just go ahead and think about that. But I'm surprised Disney have not said, hey, look, to cut all the middlemen out, we literally have your own studio right here. Go ahead and do what you need to be done. And that's more money in our pockets. Which means more money in y'all pocket.
And they have more control over the product that way. Yes. They can go in every day and be like, hey, that looks cool, but what if you did this? And they could go in every day checking on it. The director could be there, whoever's, running with the effects team in terms of how things are supposed to look. And they could make incremental changes as they go instead of getting this full product done and then going through and being like, okay, we need to change this, and this. That's what they should have been doing in the first place.
And like you said, at the end of the day, the complaints really will stop. Again, it's our people. Like you said, not an outside contractor who have legit complaints. But if you work within our company, you work here, you already know what's going on. Especially if you already worked with us before. Hey, we used the same contractor last 2 movies. And they come back that, all right, we understand. Now you realize we made changes before. Are you okay with that? Because get an option, let them know before you sign this contract. It might be times we have to make a change because the characters or somebody might have an idea and the work that you have used, we will buy that. But we need to go ahead and start with that right there too.
And what cracks me up is now I'm hearing conflicting stories from different groups, right? So you have the VFX people that hate it. Man, I hate that Marvel changes their minds. They change this. We have to go in and rechange up things. But everybody else, directors, actors, have praised working for Marvel. Sam Raimi didn't want to do superhero movies ever again. His experience making Spider-Man was not great. And he has come out and said, I would love to work for Marvel again. Anytime I asked for something, they gave it to me.
That's funny, because Christian Bale said the same thing too. He said, I did not want to do any more superhero movies after the Batman. And yet, this man was on the Thor movie because of the director he loves so much.
Right.
Again, like you said, you have and they don't like it, then
and here's the thing. Them asking for what they want and making changes is what's inevitably negatively affecting the VFX companies. Guess what happens if you get your own in-home VFX company? That goes away.
Yes.
No more complaints.
And like I said, we don't have to worry about that. Again, At least they know the people that if we make this, I probably go hire the best of the best. But you understand the vision that we have.
Right.
I want people who go understand the vision. Like you said, if the actors, directors are not complaining, now that will be a whole different thing. And they come over here and say, hey, look, tomorrow I'm working on one of these movies, man. Every time I have a vision or idea, they come behind me. We don't want that. Change this and everything else. But they're not. Like you said, hey, we try to make it better. Except for Punisher, Warzone.
I got another bit of Punisher news as well.
I hope it's something good for you. Is it good? Is it good?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
No. So Punisher. Bernthal's back.
And did he agree to change the actual symbol?
That I don't know.
Because that's what they were talking about too. They were talking about they were going to take the old skull and change up the skull itself.
Bernthal is signed on to be Punisher. They're going to do another Punisher show on Disney Plus.
I personally love
and they've already announced it's going to be TVMA.
Yes.
So yeah, when I heard that, let's go.
But think about it, they was already preparing this. They preparing this for us because if you don't have Disney Plus, I advise you to go get it. But both of the Deadpools is on there now, and Logan. So they get prepared.
And people are watching the shit out of it.
Yes, because
huge
again,
viewership.
We talked about this because again, you're about to have Moon Knight and all these other violent characters that Marvel has. We have to set it up to people to understand what's going on. And my boy, DP, is definitely the ringleader of all of it.
Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, Deadpool. Kevin Feige has come out and said he wants it to reach the level of Infinity War or Ragnarok. And now he doesn't. And a lot of people took this out of context. A lot of people were like, "Oh, well, Ragnarok sucked," or because he mentioned Civil War, Ragnarok, and Infinity War, and he says he wants it to be as big as those were. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, well, Deadpool." There are some straight up Deadpool fans that think Deadpool's better than anything in the MCU, and everybody's allowed to have their opinions. Whatever. I love Deadpool just as much as a lot of the other things in the MCU. I don't think anyone's really better than the other. Here's the thing: when he says that, he's not saying VFX wise, he's not saying anything like that. He wants there to be characters in it. What is the one thing Deadpool always seemed to be missing? Deadpool joked about it himself. Where are all the other X-Men when I need somebody?
Yes.
It's always Colossus.
My thing is, and I personally would love for them to do, I want his other personality to come out. I want him to be able to talk, and the other person comes out and start talking to.
And here's where I want Kevin Feige involved. Kevin Feige's probably a bigger comic nerd than you and I put together. This man has crafted this story to fit so well over a span of 15 to 20 years now. And by the way, people are bitching about that too. Whatever.
Let them bitch.
Right.
But they still watching that shit.
But crafting this overall story, are there going to be downer movies here and there that aren't as good as others? Yes. That's inevitable. But if you, like we did with Thor, Love and Thunder, I'd said it before, as a standalone movie, if you were to not ever watch a Marvel movie and you go into Thor, Love and Thunder and watch it, at most 5, 6 out of 10. I was like, but when you look at it in the grand scheme of things and how everything in the MCU is lined up, easily an 8, 9. Easily.
And again, like I said, if you have not watched Thor from the beginning, and you just happen to watch Thor, yeah, you had a plan. But if you watch this man's character and growth-wise, you will understand why we love the movie the way we did.
And now I'm super excited to see how Deadpool's going to fit in all of this.
I personally feel like Deadpool's going to be ridiculous. Again.
And my favorite was, people immediately read that and went, oh no, they're not going to make it rated R. No. They have already said 100% Deadpool is staying rated R.
Ryan Reynolds said it. He said it does not stay where it's at. He would not do the project.
And Kevin Feige even said, straight up in this interview that he did, one of his quotes was, I love working within Ryan Reynolds' world. Because he knows Ryan is the figurehead for this series.
My God, Ryan Reynolds put his own money out there that did the actual little skit that I love.
He leaked.
Yeah, he leaked it out that he did for YouTube and everything. I love that, and they took it. It's when you watch the first time of it, it was like, this can't be real. Oh my God, his voice and everything else. The whole scene, the highway scene, was great. And believe it or not, I wish that others would take the character, especially the opening. Deadpool's openings, second to none. It's one of the best ones, period.
Best Marvel opening, in my opinion, still to this day, is actually not even a Deadpool one. It's close. The blood rage scene in the first Blade, fucking amazing. When she drives him up to the thing, drags that dude inside, and then all of a sudden the sprinklers go on and it's blood covering the party, and then Blade shows up and starts wrecking everybody.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring that up.
But Deadpool is a very, very close second on that.
Let's bring that up because now...
But guess what? Rated R.
Yeah, he wasn't even rated R. Blade wasn't even rated R.
Blade wasn't rated R?
No, when it first came out.
Oh, I thought it was.
Wait a minute, let me think about that. I thought it was PG-13.
Hold on. Blade 1998 is... Oh, I don't... Hold on. Blade... Rating. Action Horror 98. Not review rating. Give me one quick second here. Alright, so, yes, it was rated R.
Okay, so this is the thing. And it's many times I had watched this movie over again. The man is literally crawling as he gets stomped. How come Blade's not wet? Even the people behind him is wet. It's daywalker. They do the scene and everything else. They show him walking, and you see the vampires coming from behind him. This and the other. How does this man get in this club and not get wet?
Probably through the rafters, to be honest.
Huh?
Probably through the rafters.
You think so?
Because here's the thing: they've got the entrances guarded.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as badass as he was, he could just walk right through. I'm pretty sure he wanted to sneak in and get a surprise in on everybody. So he's probably hanging out in the rafters, and then drops down as the blood stops spraying.
Because you really might have to watch this movie again. If you actually look at it, you see it come through, yeah, and everything, and everybody's enjoying the bull getting stomped and everything else. And like you said, you're right. You see him get crawled, and you see the black shoes, and you just look up, which is kind of one of the, not even bad, but kind of one of the sexiest scenes you see. This man just looks up, and it just stands there, and everybody's in fear. Blade, like I said, Blade is great, but like I said, introduction for Deadpool, especially the credits.
Oh, the opening credits are hilarious.
It's like one of the best ones nobody ever done before, and I hope they continue doing that. Just continue doing.
Directed by some asshole. I also love the post-credit scene in the first Deadpool.
I did too.
Hey, why are you still here?
The second one was kind of beautiful too. The second one was beautiful too.
I don't remember what the second post-credit scene was.
What? He literally basically shitted on Fox.
Oh,
that's how he killed himself as a.
That one.
Yeah, that was like one of the beautiful days. It's like
when he walks up to Ryan Reynolds reading the fucking Green Lantern script, and boom! You're welcome, Canada.
Yes, it was beautiful. It was just beautiful.
But yeah, so I don't even remember what started all that.
We talked about Marvel. We talked about Deadpool, and we was talking about the opening scenes.
Oh yeah.
But we talking about Deadpool. They're gonna actually keep it.
But yeah,
as rated R.
They are gonna keep it rated R. So I think people need to stop worrying about that. And like I said, they're gonna make. Hush you. They're gonna make Punisher, TVMA.
Yes.
They have not announced what Daredevil's gonna be yet. I don't think it's gonna be TVMA, but I don't think it's gonna be PG-13.
I think it's gonna be TVMA. I think so because
at the very least, it's gonna be TV-14, which is going to allow a little bit more violence, a little bit more language, not to the extent of where they can say fuck every 3 to 4 words, but I could definitely see it being TV-14.
I can see the Punisher. His language, because again, this man is on the street level for the Marble Knights and stuff like that. So get ready for having Punisher somewhat interacting, catching up with Heroes for Hire.
Right. All right. I'm done with the news. We're going to talk about this TV show. For those of you that were with us last week, Iron Man 1994. I was super excited when I drew this because I had so many fond memories. And then it all backfired.
Again, when I was told about this, also, the fond memories kicked in. Waking up early in the morning to watch this cartoon series.
Again, this show was out around the time Batman the Animated Series was popular, X-Men the Animated Series was popular, Spider-Man the animated series was popular, but Iron Man really wasn't popular.
Fantastic Four came out too at the same time too.
Silver Surfer
Yep.
had his own show. Hulk had his own show. Again, for those of you that do not know, Marvel Animation at one point was trying to be what the MCU is today.
Yes, they were.
They were doing several different cartoon shows. They were intertwining with each other, crossing over. Spider-Man and X-Men crossed over quite a bit.
Yes, they have.
Iron Man crossed over into Spider-Man.
And the Hulk.
And Hulk.
Yep.
Especially because they had the Secret War storyline that happened. It wasn't the last storyline, but it was like second to last big storyline in Spider-Man's animated series.
No, it was the second because the last one was. I consider that was the biggest arch.
Well, that was
the next one was the Spider War.
The last arch was the Spider War one, where they had all the different crossing over Spider-Men, and what I was saying was it was the second to last big story arc.
Yes.
I'm not saying it was the biggest. I'm not saying it was the smallest. It was the second to last big story arc in Spider-Man. Because it happened, I want to say they did the Secret Wars, and then there was some off time doing some other things, and then Mary Jane evaporated, and that's when all that shit started to end the series. Which, by the way, was still cool. I would still love a continuation, though. I'm just saying.
Well, maybe they're gonna try it out with X-Men first, and then go to Spider-Man and see how we can do with that.
I wonder if the dude that voiced Spider-Man still alive?
Ooh.
I definitely know that's the voice in my head when I'm reading a comic.
We had that discussion too. We talked about certain characters that we no longer can hear. Like Wolverine is Wolverine. I don't care what I'm watching. That voice from the X-Men. Ooh, can't wait for this series.
Iron Man's a little different for me. For me, it's a mixture of the voice actor from this mixed with Robert Downey Jr. It kind of goes back and forth when I'm reading an Iron Man comic.
As for me, it is the 1994 Iron Man cartoon series. When I read Iron Man, because hear Rhodey and hear all that cast and everything else, that's what I hear. Not even the new Avengers, not even the new cartoon series now.
Although I don't think, at least yet, he hasn't used the term Rhodey. He keeps calling him Jimmy. It's pissing me off. I'm like, first off, his name's James, and they actually say James in the cartoon.
That was the bad part.
But then he calls him Jim or Jimbo or Jimmy, and I'm like, fucking quit it, dude. Rhodey makes sense.
Because again, they try to establish the friendship that they have. They really do. Matter of fact, again, we're talking about the series that we're about to talk about right now.
Right. So as per always, I'm going to start off with the tail of the tape. First episode premiered September 24th, 1994. Last episode of season 1 was December 17th, 1994. It was created by Rainbow Animation Group for Fox Kids. Runtime is 26 minutes, roughly, per episode. Tomato meter, it has not been ranked on Rotten Tomatoes, but it has a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb. And that's with, I think it said it was close to 3,000 to 5,000 people that have rated it on there. Unknown budget, unknown gross. The writer for season 1 was Ron Friedman. Now, just some notable cast that are in this. The voice actor for Iron Man and Tony Stark is Robert Hayes. For the first 4 episodes, actually technically the first 5 episodes, but we're only covering the first 4 episodes. The first 4 episodes, War Machine James Rhodes was voiced by the late James Avery.
Uncle Phil, for
those of you that don't know from Fresh Prince. Mandarin is voiced by Ed Gilbert. MODOK is voiced by Jim Cummings. Hawkeye is voiced by John Riley. Scarlet Witch is Catherine Moffat, something like that. And Spider-Woman is voiced by Casey DeFranco, something like that. The 4 episodes we are going to cover. Episode 1 is called "And the Sea Shall Give Up Its Dead." Episode 2 is "Rejoice, I Am Ultimo, Thy Deliverer." Episode 3 is "Data In, Chaos Out." And episode 4 is "Silence, My Companion, My Death Destination." They did say that they tried to name the episodes. This was a little fun fact that I read. They tried to name the episodes based off of what comic names were going by at the time. In terms of just having the complex, long titles that were kind of punny.
Yeah, again, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah. Some quick, interesting facts. about the show before we get into anything specific. None of the episodes in the first season are based off of any actual comic storylines. They were all written by Ron with fucking Christ, Stan Lee. Thank you, Stan Lee. Every time I go to mention Stan Lee's name, I always forget it. Stan Lee did have a part in some of the writing, but not a whole lot. But mostly written and fully created. Other than Iron Man's origin story, which happens towards the middle to late first season, that was taken from the comics, but changed to fit
the concept that was going on at this moment
at the time. And then the Mandarin's origin story is loosely based off the comics as well. Now,
that makes so much sense now as I'm older and I'm watching this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Interesting fact number 2, which is the last interesting fact that I have prior to actually starting to watch the show. Stark's team of superheroes, which is comprised of Hawkeye, Wanda, Spider-Woman, and some robot dude that
Was he a robot? I thought he was some kind of wizard.
Or wizard, whatever. He holds an axe. He's weird. Sentry is his name. Sentry, and then War Machine. And then himself. Stark's team is based off of the team called ForceWorks from the comics, which was a very short-lived team. ForceWorks was created when East Coast Avengers disbanded the West Coast Avengers. So basically, the main Avengers team said, "Yo, we're done with your fucking side division over here." And the people that are in this story, except for Iron Man, War Machine, and Hawkeye, were all a part of the ForceWorks team. Hawkeye replaces U.S. Agent. U.S. Agent was originally on the ForceWorks team, but he's replaced with Hawkeye. I'm guessing for namesake reasons, because at the time, obviously, Hawkeye's a more popular character since he's been around since the 60s.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking, too, because Wanda was on both teams. She was an original and the West Coast, correct? Mm-hmm. That's why they kept her, like... Yeah,
but when in the comics, from what it was saying when I was reading, when they disband, Wanda, Spider-Woman, U.S. Agent, and somebody else made up a smaller ForceWorks team for whatever reason. And like I said, in the comics, it apparently didn't last very long, a couple months.
That was because, again, I didn't know anything about it until you told me about it, because, again...
Iron Man was originally not on the ForceWorks team in the comics. That was the other point I made in this same point, because Iron Man was already with the actual Avengers. So he wasn't even a part of the West Coast Avengers.
He really wasn't.
He was in the Avengers, depending on which time frame we're talking. Because currently, where I'm at in the comics, he's not. He left.
Is this when the alcohol kicked in?
No, not yet.
Okay.
He's still dealing... Honestly, the only person that even knows he's Tony Stark right now was Happy. But that was a very short-lived thing. Happy ended up with amnesia because he got hit with something that made him into a monster or what. It was really weird.
Yeah, it's funny because Happy was married to Pepper, too.
Yeah, he's not even married to Pepper in the comics yet.
Again, I'm sorry about that, but yeah, that's what happened.
All right, so... I think this is going to be the first time you're going to be here for an actual series of episodes of something. So what I typically do is I give an episode synopsis, talk about a few of the points, and then we move on to the next episode. So episode 1, which is called, again, "And the Sea Shall Give Up Its Dead." Mandarin sends his flunkies, which I'm not going to tell you who they all are because there's a bunch of them. But he sends his flunkies, technically it was Hypno, whatever the fuck her name is, to sink a Russian ship and then attaches them with some sort of seaweed chemical that after 1 year of gesticulation... Gesticulation? No, I don't think that's the right word. It's not. It basically takes a year for it to bloom. Turns them into these seaweed zombies. A year later, because it does take exactly 1 year, Tony has a hunch, investigates the ship that had been sunk, and is attacked and stopped by all the other flunkies that can apparently breathe underwater. And Fin Fang Foom is summoned to stop him. After saved by his little super group, he researches and finds what he's looking for. The squad heads up to the new Hammer Tunnel built by Justin Hammer. And as the seaweed zombies head out, the good guys stop them pretty much with ease. At which point, MODOK sends in Titanium Man, who is as well beaten really fucking quickly. And he's sent to space. Him and War Machine toss him off into space pretty quickly.
Yep.
At which point, the Sentry raises his axe and frees the seaweed zombie people. Mandarin gets mad, and that's how the episode ends. Because, you know, every fucking superhero show, I swear to God, when the villain gets beat, but he doesn't get captured or killed, ends with him being like, I'm gonna get my revenge on... It's the fucking Skeletor fucking syndrome.
See? And Cobra Commander.
Yeah, Cobra Commander is a big one, too.
Yes.
So some points I wanted to talk about with this one. First off, and this is... we'll actually go over that later. That's one of my ending points. We get a great use of Tony still liking acronyms. Which I always thought was just a thing for the movies, and it's not. It's apparently a Tony Stark thing. He hasn't done it in the comics yet, where I'm at. But I don't remember what it stands for, but his machine's name that he has floating around with him is called Irving. And it actually stands for something.
I forgot.
He says it.
I forgot what it was
in the episode, but I wasn't going to rewind it because I had to watch it twice already. But I thought that was actually pretty cool. They actually kept something that he's known for
MCU,
and even eventually used it in the MCU.
Yes.
Bad puns throughout the episode.
Those bad jokes.
There's one part where Tony's talking about Fin Fang Foom fucking him up, and he says, before Foom played Fangs for the Memories instead of Thanks for the Memories. I was like, that is lame. Please don't do that. And then later goes on to tell War Machine it's time to iron things out. And the way he says it, he goes, he says, hey Jimmy, it's time to iron things out. And I went, fuck me. Why are we doing this?
Guess it's funny at the time period. It was... I wouldn't call it cheesy, but again, as an adult, as watching this show right now, we did not pay attention to the cheesiness, and we was enjoying and just happy to watch superheroes on the screen.
Well, when you're again, so when this came out, I was 9 years old. So a lot of that shit was funny to me, obviously. Iron things out. But as an adult, kiss my ass.
Yes.
Another problem I have. No villain that I have seen in the history of comics, now I'm not saying this is not true and this does not happen sometimes, but no villain in the history of comics has set up a plot that's going to take a full year and then disappear, not attack, for an entire year. They might set something up for the future and then still try to do some shit. And then eventually when that year comes up, be like, okay, I set this in motion. Nothing else has worked up to this point. And then they proceed with whatever it was. But in this show, he sets it up. And then the next scene that says a year later, Tony's walking through. And War Machine goes, or not War Machine, it was Jimmy. Jimmy goes, do you think that they actually gave up the last time they attacked our office? Which was a full year ago.
Okay, what I didn't get either is they didn't really introduce no one. It was just literally this attack. It was literally just going into the actual story, like we speak about all the time. Like, we supposed to know who these people are. Like,
right? You're
not. Granted, this
kind of. I only say kind of because in that opening scene when Mandarin calls on his people, he does call them one at a time as they enter the room. Yeah. So he says their names as their introduction.
But again, okay, let's go. I'm going because as soon as you said, let's go about Skeletor. When Skeletor introduced everybody, he gave a kind of description. Oh, this person, this thing, and gave the name. This thing, the other, that person, Trapjaw. But he told what Trapjaw does, the master of mechanics and everything else. You gave it. He just called them by their name because I'm calling you, like your daddy calling your kid, and they all come into the room because they got in trouble.
And why did we go with the Blacklash persona instead of Whiplash?
That is a good point.
Whiplash is a much more popular version of that character, but you're going to go with Blacklash, who's the same guy, by the way, same person. They went with a name change at some point because they thought they needed to refresh the character.
I was about to ask, did they have the ownership at that time period?
Yeah.
But like you said,
at least Marvel did.
But like you said, just think about it. They did brand new, nothing from the comic books. Maybe that's what they wanted to do. They want to do something else from the comic books.
Well, okay, so Blacklash is an actual... At some point in the comics, Whiplash does become Blacklash. But then he eventually goes back to being Whiplash.
Maybe they said...
And there's actually several people that take on that moniker throughout the comics.
Well, think about it. It came out in 1990. It came out in the 90s. So at that time period, Marvel was changing a lot of the characters anyway. So maybe at that time period when it came out, maybe that's the name of the title was.
And don't get me wrong, there's some characters that do need name changes and a little bit of a refresh, right, from time to time. Prime example, Paste Pot Pete. Eventually becomes the Trapster, which is a much better name than Paste Pot Pete. So, like, them changing him to the Trapster, and I don't know if they eventually change him again to something else. But Trapster's actually a decent name, especially for what it is that he does. Alright, my next problem, and this is going to be a problem apparently for the whole fucking series. Why does MODOK exist? Who created this dumbass character?
Again, you prove my point right now. Nobody's... Again.
I mean, the obvious answer is probably Stan Lee. But at the end of the day, as a character, I have never seen in a live action... I don't think he's ever been a live action villain.
No.
But I've never seen in any animation or any movie adaptation or video game adaptation of MODOK that's imposing. I swear to God, he's one of the later level bosses in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, and he's still one of the easiest fucking bosses to kill in the game. He's always a bitch. The only time he's ever been done right, in my opinion, to a point where it's actually... he seems like a tough opponent that I've seen personally, was the Avengers' newest video game that came out. His transformation from his human form into the giant head in a chair was done really well, and they actually made him a tough end-game boss fight.
Hey, but it is... I'm trying to think... Hawk War... was it the Fall of the Hawk or the Hawk Wars? When they actually showed him and the leader. And he was kind of a badass in that section too, because they took his intelligence and showed what his real intelligence was. But like you said, even in the new Avengers cartoon series, Avengers Assemble,
he's a joke.
They always make him a joke because again, it's the big head. It's just that. Speaking about Stan Lee, this is how I know it was going downhill for me. Watching this and coming from all the history now, you never heard Stan Lee narrate it.
Mm-mm.
Stan Lee narrates in every one of his Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk. Because he gets introduction, tell you what's going on. He did not speak at all in this one. This is how it went for me. It's like, oh, it's not a stamp of approval. It's not a stamp of approval.
And the last issue I do have with this episode. So what you're telling me is this whole time, Sentry could have just cured them without even having to fight them. By holding up his axe and being like, they were regular people before. And then all of a sudden they're fucking cured. And by the way, this is being a whole year of being a seaweed zombie. They haven't eaten any fucking thing. There's no way these motherfuckers are still alive. But, for kids' sake, because it's a cartoon, he holds up his axe, brings them all back. He couldn't have just started with that?
No.
I know you need an episode, but at least come up with a plot that Sentry can't just foil with ease.
Because it wasn't about the Sentries. Everybody had to have a moment in this episode. Let's think about it. Because even Wanda wasn't even used that much in the first episode, was she?
Do you know who the most underused character in the entire thing is?
It was Wanda.
Spider-Woman.
No, you're right.
Spider-Woman spends more time getting captured and getting herself into shit.
Yeah. So, okay, does she have the same strength as... Who is this Spider-Woman? It's not...
Jennifer.
So... Jennifer is not the original Spider-Woman, right? That's in the comics, correct? Because I'm thinking about the actual Spider-Woman whose strength, flight, and the spider, her spider stinger.
Or Jessica. It is Jessica. Jessica Drew. I was like, it's supposed to be the actual Spider-Woman. Now, here's my problem, though. I don't like the fact they got her as Black Suit Spider-Woman.
And again, the reason why they came out with that is because at the time period in 1995, that's what the suit was.
Because she designed her spider suit after Spider-Man's black suit. Because a lot of people liked the look. Okay, when I say she, they, the people that were creating the comic.
But what happened to her strength?
But yeah, she's barely using her strength. Her webs are a joke. She shoots out black webbing that it's like patches of web. I would have preferred her to have her fucking neon pink fucking powerful webbing.
But again, the show itself was basically for Iron Man and War Machine to be displayed.
I won't even say War Machine. He gets shit on so much by Tony in this, and not even like in a rude, like, you suck way. But Tony is so, at least it's one thing they got right. Tony is so, no, I need to handle it, that he always tells everyone else
to back off. Yes.
But it's always Rhodey that gets the conversation because everyone else is already off doing whatever the fuck it is that they're doing. And his War Machine's like, let me go out there with you. And he's like, no. I got to take care of this. You stay here and watch this. He didn't want to share
the spotlight. He really did. He didn't want to share the spotlight. What I didn't like is how they put the costume on either. That's what I didn't like about
we'll get there.
I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that at all.
After rewatching the first couple episodes, they've done it from the very beginning. I just missed it.
Yeah.
And it's fucking annoying.
But we're not paying attention to this as little kids. We're just happy for the show.
No. Even as a kid, I hated stuff like that. Like, that's my only complaint with the actual animated Spider-Man series are the 3D web sling through the city streets that he does. Drives me fucking batshit. Because it's so disconjointed. I don't need whole 3D scenes mixed in with regular basic animation. It throws off the whole fucking vibe.
They were trying to be doing something different. Because again, it was the 90s. Everybody was trying to do something different.
X-Men didn't do that shit.
X-Men still know. That's why they're coming back.
Alright. Episode 2. This was... Is this the fucking...
Wait. Episode 1. This one they had a rubber ducky, right? This one they showed that Tony's suit couldn't breathe underneath the water. He had to get other suits. I forgot about that. That's the other thing I hated. The rubber ducky suit.
Episode 1, he had that part. It was, again, his machine that flew with him. He flew out, and then he would call for the water transport suit, and it would actually pull out the globe that fits over his costume so he can go underwater. Throughout the rest of it, we don't ever... Well, at least so far for the first 4 episodes, we don't see that come up again. He goes in the water a few times and says... he has like something that's called like a emergency short-term underwater capabilities, I think is what he calls it. And it allows him to go underwater for like 10-15 minutes before he comes back up.
Still sucks.
It does. Episode 2. Rejoice, I am Ultimo, die, deliverer.
You hated this.
I fucking hate this episode, dude. This is the worst episode of the show so far. All right. Mandarin resurrects an alien robot named Ultimo, and it runs amok. Most of the episode is it walking around saying exactly what I just said over and over and over again and annoying the shit out of its viewers. Mandarin eventually gains control of him with some sort of back neck brainwash machine and uses it to defeat and capture Iron Man. He then goes on to torture Iron Man by trying to roast him out of his armor, but Iron Man resists. And while this is going on accident... Or hold on, how did I write this? While this happens, War Machine and the crew go out to confront Ultimo, who is now walking on its own, doing its own thing. War Machine accidentally blasts the neck item off of Ultimo, not even knowing it's there. Never even registers that it was on him. As a matter of fact, the team comes up to him and is like, how did you do that? He's like, I don't know, but we need to, Hawkeye, chase it, follow it around. We got to go re-armor, we got to go refill up on our ammo and shit, or whatever.
Yeah, which they kind of corny.
So...
And did Spider-Man get captured in this one too?
Ultimo goes on to do his own thing. Mandarin then thinks he kills Iron Man and leaves him there. By the way, very basic villain trope. You guys are terrible. Leaves him there thinking he's dead. Sentry comes in and rescues him. Because Sentry can apparently travel through the infinity... How did he call it?
This man...
Infinity web or some shit like that.
Okay, first of all, again, this man's character is like...
OP.
Was just literally a joke.
So the crew, minus Tony and Wanda, who up to this point, I thought was, by the way, I legit, up to this point in this entire series, thought it was fucking Black Widow, okay? I had no clue it was Wanda.
He kept saying it.
Exactly. Well, that just goes to show the first time I was watching this, I wasn't paying that close of attention because it fucking took me out of it super quick.
This is what got me is they didn't give her the full costume, but they made sure she had the gloves on. The indication that her trademark gloves was always on.
The way she had her hair doesn't look like a Wanda haircut.
It's not.
It looks like a Black Widow haircut. So I spent the entire time thinking, oh, this is Black Widow. Which, by the way, I also thought when Jessica wasn't in Spider-Woman form, she was actually Pepper Potts. Because she looks just like Pepper from the comics. Which I'm thinking they did on purpose. Until he called her Jessica. And then I was like, oh, it's Spider-Woman.
You gotta love this series. I told you this again.
What the fuck? But yeah, so Tony and Wanda stay back. Everyone else goes and confronts Ultimo, who's now about to destroy the planet while he's holding on to Spider-Woman, who got herself captured. Mm-hmm. Who, by the way, tried to tell Tony she felt like she needed to stay behind, and he's like, no, go out. Well, good job, Tony. You about got one of your friends killed.
Can't breathe. Can't breathe.
And then then Wanda, in the base, Tony looks at her and says, what do you think? Because they're trying to find Ultimo's weak spot. And he says, Wanda, what do you think is his weak spot? Trust your instincts. And she goes, and I kid you not, sha-la-la-la-la-la-la.
And first of all, stop it, because I can see it now in my head again as she's doing it. And then the little image shows up of this. Again, he can't do the same thing, but again, use the image shows up.
She finds it, but they made her dumb as hell. You didn't even make her a fucking witch that uses hex magic. You made her a goddamn shaman from fucking like voodoo practices and shit.
Who does she also sound like? It almost sound like a little bit of Doctor Strange.
They made her sound like she was a mentally disabled child.
Okay, so this is another thing. Let's think about this too. I feel like compared to where we are at now, they didn't have a full concept of the hex power. I'm trying to help them out right now.
I cannot wait, by the way, in the comics for them to get away from calling it the hex power and just register that she's just a fucking witch that can do some shit.
She's a witch that has no training.
Basically.
That's what she really was. She was a witch that had no training. That's going to be funny.
So, they find Ultimo's weak spot. Tony joins the fight, tells Jimmy, and I'm going to keep calling him Jimmy. Fuck this show. Tells Jimmy to help him open up the weak point so Hawkeye can get the blast with a special arrow that he created.
I was going to say, special arrow. You got about that part.
And they do it. Hawkeye nails it, which, again, probably the only accurate part of this whole fucking episode. Because let's be real, Hawkeye don't miss.
Nope, sure doesn't.
Blasts with the special arrow, at which point the other villains all disappear underground. The crew captures Ultimo
and kept him
and puts him inside their base. Spider-Woman gets a call from Tony saying, hey, you should come join the party. She says, okay, on my way, boss. Mm-hmm. Walks out of the room that Ultimo's in, and then Ultimo's eyes glow red. It kind of gives an evil laugh, and then the episode's over. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if Ultimo shows back up at all in the series at any point. This is the only semblance of them carrying on any kind of future story plot that could happen. But I'm telling you now, I am okay if he never shows up again. Ever. He's the most annoying character. Second most annoying character. I'm sorry, we're not even on episode 4 yet. Second most annoying character in the show.
It's funny. It's funny, now that you just said that. MODOK is an aggravating character. Even the Mandarin, to me, was weak as hell. Like, I didn't like his character at all. I don't like it now.
I don't like Mandarin's portrayal in this.
I don't either.
Because here's the difference that I'm seeing from the comics to this show. And I don't know how much this changes in the future in the comics. But in the comics, from what I've read so far, Mandarin is very hands-on. He is not somebody that has sent anyone out. Actually, Doctor Doom has sent people out so far in the comics to do stuff. Mandarin does not. He finds a way to get Tony to come to him. Every single time he's found a way for Tony to come to him. whether it's as Iron Man or as Tony Stark. And don't get me wrong, he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know the secret identity.
But he still gets his hands dirty.
But he gets his hands dirty and loses, and then comes back and tries it again in a different way.
But again, like you said, the time era that came out, they wasn't showing that much violence in the cartoon adaptations of the comic books and stuff, because we catering to little kids.
Right.
But okay, let's go back to Wanda. Like you said, even I don't understand this. How come they ain't got Wanda in her full costume? How come she always like half naked? The whole time.
Because it's the 90s.
It's the 90s. The whole time. It's like they ain't got her crown.
Do you remember how Miss Marvel was drawn in the 90s?
Oh, I definitely remember Miss Marvel.
I don't know how she kept them things inside her fucking shirt.
I really don't know either. It was beautiful artwork.
We're talking about Carol Danvers' Miss Marvel, guys, not...
No, yeah, yes, please, let's go ahead and clarify that.
I know there's going to be some people confused at this point. Okay, Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel. Was busting out of that outfit.
But like you said, they concentrate on... The only good thing about this, and I'm thinking about Hawkeye, he stuck to his character. He was always the pushbacker. To make a difference, what person was in leadership, he always was pushing back towards them. He always wanted to make sure he knew that I can handle what needs to be done.
By the way, he's not lying. My only experience with Hawkeye as a character mostly comes from the MCU. And Hawkeye as a character in the comics is nothing like he was in the MCU.
He's not.
When I first watched Hawkeye, basically every single fucking Avengers comic I'm in right now, there's a constant fight back and forth between Hawkeye and Captain America.
Yes!
Hawkeye cannot stand Cap. Cap cannot stand Hawkeye. But when it comes time... And the problem is, though, and they actually acknowledge this, it's only because Hawkeye wants to be the leader. He actually respects Cap a lot, and there's so many times under his breath or in thought bubbles, he'll be like, even when we fight, he's still willing to do this. He's like, and I don't understand it. Like, he's in awe of Cap, but cannot stand him.
Yep. But that's the only thing that I like so far. They kept to that. Like, literally, Tony's asshole personality and what Stan Lee has said, he's a character was not meant to be liked.
Right.
And they actually show it. But everybody else could be done without. Like, Century, I don't understand why they got Century in this whole damn series anyway. And the party. We already talked about that Rhodey gets shitted on. And Tony does in the second episode. Hey, look, I just want to show my appreciation. You have done a fine job. So I'm going to give you a party.
Yep, get your own appreciation party.
Dog, give me something else. Like, all this is for you. You could have gave me something else. I don't want that. Give me some respect. Give me an opportunity to go do what needs to be done in the field. And let you sit back.
At the same time, though, he was super appreciative of that party at the end of the episode. Because he was even like, oh, thanks, Tone. Now, we also know it. The way human beings actually work, he was thinking to himself, look, motherfucker.
Yes!
I don't like people.
And you won't give me a party.
But let's be real. He gets an instant raise in the next episode. He is the vice president of Stark Industries.
Ooh. Yeah, let's go ahead and go with that bullshit.
My note, by the way, again, for each episode I do have notes, and I did say the only thing I got is fuck this episode and fuck this iteration of Ultimo. That was my note.
Wait a minute. Didn't Rhodey start off as the bodyguard?
I don't know.
I'm trying to think he started with the bodyguard.
Because he's not in the comics yet, where I'm at.
Let's just go for this episode of MCU. Let's go ahead and go for the two different variations. They don't even talk that much about Rhodey's military background in the cartoon series. Because I want to know what makes him qualified to be part of Tony's team, besides being his best friend.
Honestly, what I bet ends up happening in the I have not read the comics. So I don't know. Like, as far as War Machine's introduction, my guess, and you can tell me if I'm wrong because you've probably read Rhodey's introduction into the comics, is he probably saved Stark. Because that seems to be the way Stark gets people involved, is when they save his life, he deems them worthy
he did.
of a person to be around him. And at that point, he becomes War Machine. Probably over time. He probably starts off as a bodyguard, discovers Iron Man's secret identity.
And he replaced it Iron Man for a little bit when Tony was going through his alcohol. Like basically, he actually stepped up, and that's how he really did get into War Machine.
All right, so episode 3, Data in, Chaos out.
I'm sorry.
By the way, I do want to go ahead and say, out of the 4 episodes, this is my favorite. As dumb as it is, by the way, this is going to show how bad this show is. This was my favorite episode out of the 4.
I'm really going to ask why, though, but go ahead.
Oh, I'll tell you. I have it listed, is why.
Okay.
So, quick synopsis of the episode. Tony tests the Iron Man suit on an asteroid remotely and almost dies. This becomes a thing. Mandarin reprograms all of Stark's satellites to frame him for siphoning money into an unknown account. MODOK sends his ELF to brainwash Rhodes. ELF stands for something. Spells out elf, which is hilarious, by the way, because it's a small version of MODOK.
Yes, it is.
To brainwash Rhodes and makes him think Tony's a bad guy. So Rhodes has him arrested. Tony gets bailed out. He hides in one of his own satellites and surprise attacks Mandarin. When Mandarin takes Tony's new satellite, Iron Man pops out, attacks, and MODOK summons War Machine for help. At which point Rhodes gathers the squad and they all head out to space to, come help. Well, they're coming for Tony. War Machine's coming for MODOK. Eventually, Tony and Rhodes start fighting once they get up there. Hawkeye traps Rhodes with an electrified, web arrow that basically fries his armor.
He has a lot of arrows.
Right. Tony removes the ELF from Rhodes' neck. Sentry destroys it. Rhodes apologizes to Tony for everything. They escape as Mandarin self-destructs the spacecraft, and him and MODOK leave. That's pretty much the rundown. That was one of the things I pointed out in my notes. ELF is an acronym, but does spell out elf, which I thought was fucking hilarious. He never called it an elf. He always said my ELF. And then when I typed it out, I was like, it spells out elf. Another problem I had in this episode, this is the first time I realized the bad guys know Rhodes is War Machine. How the fuck do they not know Tony is Iron Man? That is something that's not explained at all.
Again, we're not...
Of everybody in the group, they know Rhodes is War Machine.
I had no idea why. Because nobody knows about it. Spider-Girl, Wanda. Here's another question. How the hell does this little elf brainwashes Rhodes? And Rhodes... and
just
it's okay. Only deals with mechanical and machines. Like, how do you brainwash him?
Right. And also, even with the brainwashing, if you're as close a friend to Tony as you are, you're telling me that you're seeing this image that's being put in front of you, and immediately you're like, oh, Tony's a bad dude. You're that easily brainwashed?
Obviously, he has. Wait, here's another question, because I like how they don't show how he get brainwashed. You see the little character, and then you see Rose. Oh, where did he go? How did he get caught? You try to tell you see this thing coming at you, you couldn't move out the way and smack that thing out the way. Cartoons now, the shit. And like you said, he pulls up on the watch, and hologram. Oh, let's go ahead and do that.
Overall, in my opinion, not a terrible episode. It's just kind of boring. I say it's one of the better because it's one of the more adult-themed episodes. And what I mean by that is it's dealing heavily with political thought in terms of siphoning money from accounts, which would in turn destroy the economy, making somebody the richest person on earth, stuff like that. I thought that was actually pretty cool that they included that in a kids cartoon, because normally kids cartoons are way more basic than that.
Yeah, because that was over some kids' heads.
A weird, fun, positive note that just kind of shocked me because I was not expecting it. It made me laugh, even though it wasn't even a funny scene, was Tony Stark talking to Bill Clinton.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that was funny, too. So, again, the monster comes up, boop. You see him talking, hey, Bill. Like, he's best friends with him. Like,
right.
We talk every day. He's like, so, is it you that's stealing money? Like, I just came out, like, I'm talking to my friend. Hey, are you stealing money, man? Bill, you know me. I really don't know. That's why I'm asking you. Well, it's your satellite, so I'm trying to find out. Like
him talking to Bill like that makes sense though. If you think he is the head contract owner for the U.S. military's defense systems, he would have to be in contact with the president in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not every single day.
But here's my question: isn't that what your military person is supposed to do?
Yes, but if I'm president, I'm going to want to know the person who's actually working on it. At least that's if I'm president. I mean, some people are like, other presidents. I'm not going to name any names. Trump. That's probably fine with working with just generals.
Yeah, because again, but Bill Clinton was a nice touch.
He's like, "How's it going, Tony?" Whoever voiced him, by the way, actually did a pretty decent, better than what I just did.
But he was like, "Hey, Bill," like you said. He didn't say that's another thing. He didn't say, "Hey, Mr. President." He said, "Hey, Bill." Like I knew you before you became president. Probably help him get in the office.
Right. Episode 4: Silence My Companion, My Death's Destination. All right. So episode 4 synopsis: Iron Man tests trying to find a new energy source through VR and almost dies. At this point, Tony, stop testing things at the beginning of episodes. I'm tired of seeing you almost die. Mandarin spies on him to find out what hurts him. So basically, he's trying to find a new energy source because the sunlight is what's powering his armor, and he needs to find a way to have it last longer than needing solar energy. They also managed to infect a new line of Tony's protective tanks with a virus that is going to spread to the entire tank population that Tony makes. And they're all supposed to explode at a certain time, taking out the U.S. military's defenses, or whatever the fucking plan was. Again, a more adult theme that you don't think about as kids. But later, the most annoying character so far in this series, Rachel Van Buren, is kidnapped, and Iron Man is summoned by Hammer. Basically told, hey, we have this girl kidnapped. You need to come get her. It's a trap, but a part of me also feels like they wanted to get away from her.
Yeah, Hammer. See, this is the whole thing too. It's only these two main characters. That's only two things for the combos they took. They took Hammer on a business level threat of Tony, and then you had the Mandarin who has Iron Man as it. There's only two people. Like y'all can't fight nobody else.
Right. If you're gonna throw up, can you just get it done? Instead of wheezing?
Oh, sorry.
Don't re-swallow it. Just let it go.
Again.
Anyways.
Deadpool came to my head first. Yes.
Let it go. Let it go. There you go. Nope. All right. So, Rachel Van Buren's kidnapped by Iron Man. Iron Man is summoned by Hammer. Iron Man saves her, but then they're transported to a cave where Iron Man, drained of his energy, finds a way to use sound energy to recharge himself. Iron Man then shows up to fight Whirlwind, Frostbite, Blacklash, and another villain who I can't remember at the time, and beats them pretty much with ease to stop them from destroying a military base that is owned by Stark Industries and destroying the tank. That's pretty much the entire episode. That's it in a nutshell. Here's some issues I've got. First off, I did not need the overly annoying traditional Valley Girl voice for the fucking main chick that needs rescuing. She was driving me fucking annoying.
It's the 90s.
Batshit.
It's the 90s. Beverly Hills 90210 came out. Melrose Place. All those shows came out this time.
Right, but this was like overdone, over accentuated. Even to the point where I'm pretty sure I've never heard a girl actually talk legit like that. I've heard some annoying, like, Valley Girl speech. Mm-hmm. But she was putting it on thick, whoever was voice acting that one.
This whole show needed help.
She was like, oh my god. and I'm just like, oh, fucking shoot me. Like, Mom, you just don't understand me.
That's a shame. That girl said, I was trying very hard. They gave me a contract. I'm trying to do my best.
Yeah, she fucking should have been fired. You could have pulled somebody off the streets to do better than that. All right. There's a scene when Hammer's talking to Iron Man, telling him that he needs to come rescue this girl because they're holding her hostage. Obvious trap. And it's even more obvious because there's a point where he turns around mid-conversation with Iron Man to talk to Mandarin, who's on a TV off to the side of him. They're having a conversation. You know 100% there's no way Tony could not hear what they were talking about.
Yeah, Tony did not hear it. You know he didn't.
And all Hammer did was kind of cover up the picture with his hand while he's talking. And it's not like Hammer was like, dude, why are we doing this? He was like, but Mandarin! And I'm like, there's no way Tony didn't hear him. There's no way Tony didn't go in way more prepared than he actually was for that shit.
Well, this is villain 101. Obviously, villains get away with a little bit more stuff than heroes do. We have seen it many, many times in every concept of every cartoon, comics, and movies that we have seen. The good guys do not hear what they need to hear.
Right. And my last point for this episode, and we actually kind of touched on this earlier in passing. Why does Stark always tell his group to stay behind like they're fucking worthless? Like, you have this team of superheroes, minus Hawkeye, who's still a hero in his own right, but you have this group of people with special powers that can do things, and you're always like, nah, I got this.
Because, again, you just asked your own question. I am a human man with a suit. I have to prove myself, not just to my team, but to everybody else who come in battle with me. My team, who has, like you said, one who's technically a witch, one who's basically, I really don't know what century is. I feel like he's an alien. And then you got Spider-Woman. And yet, Spider-Woman always get captured, so her powers ain't shit. Obviously, it's nothing. Wanda only gets to use her powers once in a while. And Sentry is a portal that I need to use to get to where I need to go to. So while all y'all staying back, I'm gonna go ahead and do what needs to be done.
At least bring Rhodey. Oh, I'm sorry, Jimbo, Jimmy.
Jim has to watch the company. Jim has to be the face because I left for a meeting, but Iron Man pops up, but Jim has to be there to do crowd control.
Right. Now, I have some overall things to think about so far in the show. I'm curious as to how far these are going to carry over into the rest of the series. These are just general assessments that I have. First one being, why is Hammer always getting shit on by Mandarin? There were at least 3 separate occasions where Mandarin intentionally made Hammer sabotage himself without any plans of a future payout or anything. So, like, he goes into this tank contest in episode 3, I think it was. Oh, no, it was...
No.
Yeah, episode 3. It was episode 3.
Yeah.
It's the one where they infected the tanks. But he goes into this combat test to see whose tank was going to be used for the military, or by the military. And it's one of Stark's tanks versus one of Hammer's tanks. And the Stark tank beats the shit out of Hammer's tank. And Mandarin is like, yes, that's what we wanted. And then Hammer's like, nah, dude, I just lost a chance at $48 million.
He says, that's nothing.
And he's like, it's worth the loss. Are you going to pay Hammer?
Nope.
He's still a human that needs money to fucking eat.
But Hammer gets the reward
of losing.
Of being underneath the mirror.
You know what? That don't mean shit when Mandarin's willing to throw somebody down a fucking tunnel because he froze and destroyed his fucking flowers. That was funny as shit. That's the first thing you see in this entire series.
That shit was funny.
Is him basically telling Frostbite, if you kill one of my flowers again, I'm going to kill you.
And then made this man go replant some shit.
I was like, that's not cool.
Okay, here's another question too. We haven't seen them yet. So these military contracts, because I know we have seen it coming down the line. Is this a S.H.I.E.L.D.? Is S.H.I.E.L.D. going to be introduced down the line?
Probably not.
Because again, who is he doing these contracts for?
Next question. Why does Mandarin specifically have a hard-on for Stark Industries? What is it about Stark Industries in this series? Does Mandarin... Because here's the thing. It would make sense if Mandarin knew Iron Man was Tony Stark, because Iron Man's like his archenemy, but he doesn't. And it's never, oh, I'm going to go out and kill Iron Man. Every episode is, how am I going to take down Stark Industries? And then all of a sudden Iron Man shows up. It's like, Iron Man, my greatest villain. Let me fight you now to try and stop you. But every episode it's Stark Industries. I'm going to take down Stark Industries.
Because in this universe right now, Stark Industries is the richest entity that's in this Marvel universe. So if I take this down, I actually would be the most powerful and richest person out there. I'm just guessing because they don't show nobody else. I'm just saying. Hammer's the only other company.
And this also ties into why is Mandarin like the only main villain in this fucking show. You have the worst group of sub-villains ever. Like Whirlwind, seriously? We're running with Whirlwind? We're going with who's the fish dude on the fucking horse?
Shit.
I can't
even think. That's how it's so little. But I was gonna say Whirlwind for some reason. His character gets recycled a lot, even with the new Avengers. So obviously, at some point, probably in the comics, he was probably a very good villain. They just used him the wrong way. They made him as a joke.
I don't remember who he was the main villain for in the comics, though. Because there's a lot of, and that's another problem Marvel runs into. I mean, this is every superhero, whatever. You start to recycle things people can do.
Yeah.
Because Whirlwind is very much like the Human Top. In terms of they just spin around really fast. And now I know the Human Top was Giant Man's villain for a while. He's shown up a couple other times for other things.
Yeah, but even Whirlwind, if you think about it, he ended up fighting he's just a villain. I feel like he's just out there.
Right.
And they just, like you said, in the beginning of this entity, they just grabbed villains and made a group out of them.
And they grabbed like the most random group of villains too. Okay, so you've got obviously Whirlwind, which we just talked about, which in the grand scheme of things, of all the villains, other than maybe MODOK, Whirlwind makes the most sense in terms of I at least knew who Whirlwind was going into this, right? Blacklash is, again, it's Whiplash. He's not a super popular villain. I think he probably became more popular because of Iron Man 2.
Mm-hmm. That really was, though.
And even then, Mickey Rourke is a dick. He did a great job with the role, but he's a dick. And then you've got, again, Hypno something. I don't know what her actual name is. I just know it starts with Hypno because she hypnotizes people.
Yeah.
Then you've got
the stone guy.
The fish dude on a horse, who I keep wanting to call Black Knight, but it's not Black Knight.
It's not.
But it's a flying horse with a fish dude fucking flying him. And then you're talking about Grey Gargoyle. Grey Gargoyle is actually one of Iron Man's villains, which is pretty cool. He's the only one that I know of for sure out of all of these.
But they don't really use him like that either in the series so far.
Right. But he's barely been used. He's actually got a really cool power, too. He turns people to fucking stone. Just by touching them.
I'm not even going to touch that. I'm like, how do you eat?
Right. And then fucking Frostbite, who's basically Iceman. It's a villain Iceman.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, is cool in terms of I like Iceman as a character. His powers are cool. But now you're just getting villains that copy the fucking powers of the heroes and then go into a different series.
And like you said, they did not even use the comics as a base. They didn't even take any of the series. They just used it.
I've never heard of Frostbite before this. I'd never heard of the Hypno chick, whatever her name is. And I'd never heard of, again, the fish dude on the fucking horse, the flying horse. And it's not to say again, I am not the biggest know-all of fucking Marvel characters. I'm sure in every series that I've ever, there's going to be people I might not know about. A prime example, when I was playing through the Deadpool video game, the actual Deadpool game that came out a few years ago.
I had that one.
Vertigo, I didn't even know was an actual character.
Really?
Yeah, I had no clue who Vertigo was. I hate her power. It's annoying. But...
Yeah, because she got introduced. It's funny because she got introduced in the X-Men series, cartoon series.
Why do I not remember her then?
Okay, Savage Lands and Sinister had her, and took Vertigo, and she mixed her powers up with Magneto's power.
Okay.
When they took their powers away, she was like, "Oh, I can feel needles straight through me." Oh. Sorry. And the outfit that she had on was like, yeah.
Why is season 1's intro song close to the worst intro song for any Marvel show all time, but season 2's is one of the best?
That what got us messed up. Because we said we were going to watch this show, and we was talking. We was like, yes, they got the best intro.
Because you remember the, yeah.
And just like, you can see the shadow and everything going on. It's like, ugh.
And you can hear the...
It was the best. It was. That what made me wake up every morning to watch the Iron Man cartoon because of that song. And you sung it. You really did. You did sing the song with it. Now the cartoon itself sucks, but the actual thing.
Well, we'll get to that in a second too. And lastly, the last point I wanted to bring up about the overall thing to think about. Why can't we fire people for doing the 3D costume change? Can we go back in time and fire whoever's decision that was? Again, because we did talk about that.
Yes, we did.
And they literally use the same animation sequence. There's like 30 seconds per episode. They never need to redraw again because it's literally the same. He holds out the briefcase, which, by the way, is a War Machine costume, not even an actual Iron Man costume. It's the all-silver. But he drops it down, the all-silver suit shows up, and then the next scene, he's stepped into the back, the legs clamp around it, the suitcase is flipped over. All of a sudden, it's all yellow and fucking red, by the way. I don't know when that happened. And then he puts his arms in the gloves, they wrap around his arms, and then the mask comes up over his face. Here's the thing, if they'd have kept it basic fucking animation, it actually would have looked pretty cool, would have fit in with the show, cool, whatever, move on. I mean, let's be real, most kids' shows have that reoccurring sequence. Think about the Power Rangers that morph every fucking episode. Yeah. Sailor Moon coming out doing their fucking thing every fucking episode. I mean, it's a thing. That's not my problem. But my problem is, why do you go from normal animation to, which I'm sure at the time it probably was thought of as good-looking animation. Not now.
Again, it was the 90s. They wanted to try something different. They feel like they was on the frontier of doing animation. Like, you're going to go ahead and just mix it up. Like you said, they did it with Spider-Man. You swing in and he had the whole thing. What I don't like is was War Machine put his costume on. He take the arm off, click, click, and it glow. Clink! But you got the suit on. Like, this is what Tony, the jacket and everything came off, and it kind of fit.
Yeah, he had like the sleeveless tank top on.
Yeah, how the hell do you put your whole... No!
That shit ain't comfortable.
At least was the Iron Man movie, the second one. And he was like, give me, because that's where they got the concept from. Give me the briefcase. And he put his hands in, turned, and everything kind of, it spans over the actual clothes. And then kind of close in. That don't show, no. They don't do that.
So, now here's some things that I was reading about. Because again, I was actually doing some research on this show. I want to say it was like Wednesday or Thursday when I first started going through and typing up all of my notes and stuff. So apparently, season 2 is actually done very differently. He actually splits away from the team.
Yep.
And it's really just him and Spider-Girl. Or Woman, or whatever she is.
Spider-Woman.
But it's really just him and Spider-Woman. And even then, she's not involved a whole lot. Because apparently, at the end of season 2, he fakes his death by using an android to pretend to be him. The team ends up grieving, but he does it to get away from them to fight whatever it is that he has to fight, or some shit. I don't remember right offhand from what I was reading. But the team ends up turning their back on him and leaving, and Iron Man spends most of season 2 pretty much by himself. And again, Jessica's there, or Jennifer, whatever the fuck her name is. She's there, but she's more of an office person in that series, in the second season.
The second one, yep.
And whoever wrote season 2, there is a continuing storyline that plays throughout the entire thing, which is something this season 1 doesn't have. Every episode in season 1, again, except for there's 2 times they go into 2-part episodes. It's the origin of Iron Man and the origin of Mandarin. Origin of Iron Man's 2 episodes. Origin of Mandarin's another 2 episodes. So that's like 4 of the 13 episodes. But every other episode is just a self-contained story.
But that's what I like about season 2. I like season 2 because of the continuation of it.
Which is one of the things that, again, I feel like both Spider-Man and even more so X-Men, the animated shows,
definitely did that.
Thrived off of. They told a continuing story that evolved over time.
Because even with the X-Men, so we watched the first one, night of, the whole thing, they get captured, like you said, they go right into it. Beast still locked up in jail, but they still got the adventures going on, and they continue because they got the main streamline, but they add storylines to everything else. But you still have the main one there. I like that with Iron Man's the second season because again we have the main streamline, and you have other things going on at the same time. That's the foundation, but the first one sucked.
Yeah, this first season sucks so far. There are some pros. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. There are some good things about it. To be honest, other than minor characters that don't really matter, most of this voice acting is actually pretty good. The guy that plays Iron Man does a great job. Yep. I don't know about War Machine's replacement, but I know James Avery, at least for while he was there, did an amazing job as Rhodes.
Yes.
The chick that plays Jessica does a pretty good job. Wanda can go to hell. But at least they gave her the Latvian accent.
Accent was funny.
At least they tried to give her the accent. But again, dude, I'm sorry. I have been completely turned off to her as a character in this show after the fucking sha-la-la-la bullshit, okay?
Okay, so here's another thing, too, because Wanda was so close to her brother and everything. How come they didn't have Quicksilver, like, in this Iron Man team? Again, he could have been used very well.
Right.
Especially over Century. Well, no, Century because, magic and whatever he does and shit like that. But they was, like, connected to the hip.
I'll tell you why. Other than Wanda and Sentry, everybody else are superheroes that don't have actual powers. At least in this show, the way they're portrayed.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if I remember correctly, Spider-Woman's webbing, even in the comics, is more technologically designed than it is actual webbing. But she also, doesn't she have a pheromone that's supposed to make people attracted to her? That obviously never shows up.
They don't never show it.
So, like, she's got that, and then she's got the ability to, like, stick to things. But that's really her whole thing. Iron Man, obviously 100% he created the costume. War Machine, 100% Tony created the costume. And then you've got Hawkeye, who just, shoots arrows at people. He doesn't really have any special powers. I still think Sentry's an android. I don't think he's a full-on being.
You have to look that up. I think he was not from this dimension. I think he's part of the team, but he's not from here.
So an almost Silver Surfer-esque style of character, which would make sense. The Infinity Matrix. That's what he crosses through. The Infinity Matrix.
So again, actually shows that he's not from here.
And then, but yeah, so, but that would make sense to me why Pietro wasn't there, because Pietro 100% is a mutant.
Yes.
But I think that would have also been... It's just brought up a new thing. So this is a part of the Fox series universe that they were building. Mm-hmm. How do you go from that Wanda to the Wanda that shows up in fucking X-Men? And how does this show even happen? With her even in it?
That's a very good question.
Because this came out 2 years after X-Men started. X-Men ran for 5 or 6 seasons. Because Spider-Man and X-Men came out, was it a year apart?
I thought it was the same time.
Or they came out, it was either a year apart or at the same time. And then Iron Man came out in 94. Because X-Men I know for a fact is 92. I think it's 92 X-Men, 93 X-Men. Iron Man comes out in 94.
Fantastic Four came out at the same time too. Those two.
But they definitely didn't have Wanda acting like this in the X-Men.
No, because they talked about the background of Wanda. Even even afterwards, when they actually showed Wanda's character, even in the cartoons, even in the X-Men Evolution, she didn't speak like that. She didn't talk like that. They showed the hatred that she had. Even Wolverine in the X-Men, she wasn't like that either. So they made her a complete bobblehead joke
and
for the Iron Man.
And the reason I know this makes up one full universe and it's all together. Now, we don't get any crossovers in Iron Man until I think Hulk shows up at one point in one of the episodes for this Iron Man show, is one of the things I read about. But Iron Man crosses over into Spider-Man, and it is this Iron Man. This Iron Man crosses over into Spider-Man for the Secret Wars arc, along with Wolverine from the X-Men.
Yep. Beast from the X-Men.
Beast from the X-Men. And I want to say, if I remember correctly, Hulk... No, I don't... Was Hulk a part of it? Cap was. No, actually, I think Cap was a different crossover.
Cap came in for the X-Men.
Well, Cap was in one of the Spider-Man episodes, too. It's when Spider-Man runs across Red Skull.
Yep, that's what it was. They showed them fighting forever and shit. That's how they got captured. Trying to think. Wait a minute. Shit.
But yeah, so chronologically, this show doesn't make sense with the X-Men. And I didn't even think about that until I was sitting here trying to come up with an excuse on why Pietro wouldn't be there. I was like, well, maybe he was doing stuff over in the X-Men show. And then I was like, but wait a minute, Wanda was in the X-Men show.
Yeah. They don't have no excuse.
Maybe it's a Hydro Man clone. Anyways.
Oh, you're so wrong. Because that's technically how he did anyway.
But no, so I'm not looking forward to... What are the next episodes? I don't have my... Is my phone still up there? I thought I heard it vibrating. There it is. Hold on, let me turn my fat ass around and grab my phone. I want to see... I don't know if we're going to be doing 5 episodes for next week or 4. I want to do 5 because I know one of the next 2 weeks needs to be 5 episodes and I'd rather get it the fuck out the way. Let's see. Where's my streaming app folder? But I don't want to break it up in the middle of one of what might be the actual 2 episode splits.
How many episodes is left?
9. So it'll be 5 one week and then 4 another. So, Grim Reaper wears a Teflon coat. Enemy within, enemy without. Origin of the Mandarin. Oh no, Origin of the Mandarin's only 1 episode. Okay, so yeah, we're going to do 4 episodes.
Okay.
Because if we do 5, we end off in the middle of an actual arc called Iron Man to the Second Power. Because, okay, so Iron Man's first season runs 13 episodes. So, this week we're going to cover episodes, or this next week it'll be episodes 5 through 8, and then 9 through 13. And then 9 through 13 covers Iron Man to the Second Powers Part 1 and 2, Origin of Iron Man's Part 1 and 2, and then The Wedding of Iron Man is the last episode of season 13, and that's when Tony and Julia get married.
Oh, God.
Who?
I said, oh, God.
Maybe that's who Spider-Woman is. Is it Julia?
It can't be.
I think it is.
Well, we're going to find out later.
I think that's what he was calling her. It actually makes sense now. Hold on. Julia Carpenter is Spider-Woman at some point in the comics. She was the Spider-Woman in the black suit. She's the second person to assume the identity of Spider-Woman. Let's see. Julia Carpenter of Earth 616 is the second person to assume the identity of Spider-Woman, but now she assists other superheroes as the new Madam Web. So she's the current Madam Web of... Spider-Woman was barely trained to be a superhero before she was pulled into the Secret Wars and teamed up with Spider-Man and the Avengers. Spider-Woman died in battle, but Doom, with the power of Beyonder, resurrected her. After she returned to Earth, Julia was drafted into the Freedom Force, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, forced to become government superhero team. In an early mission with Freedom Force, was sent to capture the X-Men, and Julia encountered Jessica Drew, the now powerless original Spider-Woman. Julia began to question working with known criminals when Freedom Force was sent to arrest the Avengers, and Julia actually helped to defeat them and the West Coast team. Spider-Woman realized her mistakes and freed the Avengers from jail. As a known fugitive, she teamed up with Spider-Man. All right.
That is...
I don't know. There's a whole lot of confusion there. Yeah. Again, that's the joys of having 3 billion different writers writing different stories.
It's still funny, though. The show still sucks. I'm still going to watch it, but it still sucks.
Julia was actually the Spider-Woman in Civil War. She underwent special treatments to regain her powers, rejoined the Avengers under the new identity of Arachne. And then Julia and her new boyfriend, the Shroud, were secretly working to protect other heroes from the new Superhuman Registration Act.
I remember that.
When her betrayal was uncovered, Julia fought against Miss Marvel and was arrested for trying to get back to her daughter.
Yep, I remember that issue. I had that issue, yep.
She eventually joins Omega Flight, which was Canada's newest super team, because Alpha Flight wasn't good enough. Let's see, Arachne became caught in war between various spider heroes and the Kraven family. She helped Spider-Man escape from Anna and Aloysia Kravinoff. They are confronted by the Chameleon in the form of Ezekiel, who told them that the war of the Spider and Hunter tribes. Arachne is captured by the Kravinoffs along with Aranya and Madam Web. When Madam Web is mortally wounded, she passed her psychic powers to Julia, and she became the new Madam Web. As Madam Web, Julia stopped Spider-Man from killing Kraven. But yeah, that's how she eventually turns into Madam Web.
Well, she has a strong history.
She does. Not in this show, though. In this show,
she sucks.
She marries fucking Tony Stark.
Only in that cartoon.
Let's find out. Does Julia Carter marry Tony Stark in the comics? You want some spoilers?
Go ahead.
Apparently, according to the way the episode works, he marries Julia in the comics not out of love, but out of trying to basically convince people that him and Iron Man are two different people. So he apparently starts to get suspected that him and Iron Man are the same person, because people are finally like, hey, you never see them both in the same place at the same time. So he goes to marry her, and Iron Man shows up to the wedding, but it's a robot or something. I don't know. It's whatever. It's whatever. We'll find out when we get there.
Yes, we will.
But yeah. Fuck this show. As it stands right now, I would probably give it like a 3 out of 10. As it stands.
Oh, you being real nice.
I am.
I'm giving that bad boy 2.
There's a chance for it to go higher. I've seen shows get better as they go on.
This one's not.
I'm pretty sure the second season is still probably enjoyable, but this one...
Only reason the second season was going to help them out is the theme music.
The theme song. Get you hyped.
That's it. Oh my God, we're going to watch a great show. Motherfucker. Let me down.
Stupid shit. And it sucks too, because like they start introducing other villains in the third season.
That would basically help. That helps it out, because I'm tired of seeing them married. Like, get some other people. Shit.
Like, here's some of the synopsi for later in the season, right? We do start off with Mandarin plotting with Justin Hammer and Fin Fang Foom, is how the second season starts off. And then like, you go through some of them. AIM takes credit for a terrorist attack in China. With the help of Iron Man, S.H.I.E.L.D. tracks transmissions from AIM, so S.H.I.E.L.D. does get involved.
Shows up.
Julia and other Stark employees get trapped in a cave-in Egypt. Iron Man shrinks down to microscopic size in order to save Hawkeye's life.
Oh, God. A shrinking episode. I think everybody has done it.
Iron Man goes to a different fucking planet at some point. Crimson Dynamo shows up at one point. Ooh. There's a Disney Plus show that we were just recently talking about that did not get announced for Phase 5 and 6, but we know is being made. Starring Don Cheadle.
What was I?
Remember Armor Wars?
Yeah.
That we were talking about? It hasn't been officially announced as far as a time slot that it's supposed to scheduled to be out, but they have said for sure that they are working on it. And even Don Cheadle's came out and tweeted it's still being done. It's a 2-part episode called The Armor Wars, Part 1 and 2.
I had that series too.
I'm wondering if this is pulling from... It would have to pull from that series. That's actually pretty cool. Because
I'm about to skip and go right to that one.
Tony well, in this one though, so Tony discovers Stark technology is being used by Crimson Dynamo, and then in the second episode, Iron Man continues his efforts to disable all other armored warriors. Hulk shows up later on in an episode called Hulkbuster.
Again, the military.
And then the last 2 episodes are called Hands of the Mandarin. But they actually start to call them the Force Works, by the way. Again, the second season looks like it actually is going to be pretty decent. And the animation actually doesn't look too bad either.
But like you said, it's a continuous story. I like that. It's continuous going straight down. It's not just random crap.
But as of right now, whatever the fuck this shit is. Like, the episodes we're going to be covering are... The Grim Reaper wears a Teflon coat, which is Stark Enterprises developed a stealth jet called the Grim Reaper. Enemy Within, Enemy Without, which is when Mandarin sends his men to steal a boat, he endangers MODOK's wife. Origin of the Mandarin, which is just going to tell the origin story of Mandarin. And then The Defection of Hawkeye. The Heroes of Force Works begins to suspect Hawkeye is a traitor. That's always fun, by the way. Everyone always thinks Hawkeye's a traitor.
I know.
Always.
This man is loyal as fuck.
What show was it that we watched? I think it was Avengers.
It was.
Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yep.
There's an episode where Black Widow thinks... Or no, actually, I think it's reversed in that one. I think Hawkeye finds Black Widow and thinks she's being a traitor.
She's a traitor.
And then she pins it on him.
She did. Because he had the actual Hawk blood in there. Yeah. And then everybody was coming after him. He was locked up inside... Was it the cube he was locked up in? Or was it the raft?
Which actually, after seeing that and seeing how he's always looked at differently in the comics right now, like, all of a sudden that one What If episode makes sense when he accidentally shoots the arrow, but it wasn't him that pulled the arrow. It was Ant-Man hitting his finger.
Yeah. And
it coming out and killing, I think it was Thor.
Yeah.
Even still, that fucking show sucks.
Oh, wait, what sucks more, Iron Man or the What If?
Oh, Iron Man right now.
Right,
Iron Man right now. All right. So next episode, 4 more, and then we'll have 5 more after that, and then we'll be done with the show. Hopefully, She-Hulk will start by then.
That could be a whole different thing we'll be talking about.
I'm excited for She-Hulk's TV show.
Are you really?
Oh yeah. Did you watch the news trailer?
I seen the news trailer.
Oh, dude, it looks great.
I was talking about that. I said, and okay, so this is the flip side of it, and it kind of reminded me of Superman training Supergirl. So you see the Hulk, they takes his one boulder and throws it, but you see her surpassing it, and then I had to look at it again. All right, you see, basically had to hold it with 2 hands and kind of do it. Hulk did it with 1, and somebody was telling me, I think it might have been you, we were talking about it, that she's supposed to be stronger than the Hulk. And I'm like,
that wasn't me.
I said, that's not true. She's not stronger than the Hulk. And no Phantom. Because when he beat the shit out of her ass.
So here's the thing. I don't think they're portraying it that she's going to be stronger than the Hulk in the series. I think she's going to be balanced, whereas Hulk's not really. Now, were there...
At least what the timeline's going to be yet. Like you said, we discussed this too.
Right.
It's right before the blip.
I don't know if it'll be before or during the blip.
It has to be during the blip because again, that whole 5 years, because he's smart Banner. He's right there. He's a smart Hawk. So that whole timeline right there is like, that's what I want to see. It. When did you fall in that? Because when the world's in the chaos,
where were you?
Where were you at?
Here's some things I'm excited about, though. Right, at least in the last trailer, they look like they cleaned a lot of the CGI issues up. Yeah, it actually looked really good. I love the humor that they're bringing to it because it doesn't feel forced. It actually feels like a natural. The way her and Hulk interact with each other is really fucking hilarious.
Especially the first part. What the? He said, "Are you okay? Angry? You be angry too if somebody blows something in your face." He said, "Well, that's it." He said, "Yes." For the jokes, yes, it was.
Right. I love, at least combined with both the trailers that we've seen, I love that they seem to be making her out to be the kind of, for lack of a better term, hoe that she is. Doing the whole dating thing and taking... That's her. They nailed her fucking character for that.
But I wouldn't call her a hoe. Again, this thing about her... They go into the... I do like the fact they show the car accident. I do like to show that. Because the blood transfusion. I do like that because, again, he had to get the blood so to make it do. But I wouldn't call her a hoe. Because, again, the guys do the same thing in the Marvel Universe. She just enjoying her confidence that she has right now. And Thing, Hercules.
Well,
did she fuck Tony? I think she did have such a thing.
There's a lot. Also, one of the things that she has that benefits her that the Hulk can't do is she can willingly change whenever she wants. And she can always change back. And what's funny is since she has that choice, even in the comics, she prefers
She-Hulk
to be She-Hulk. Even when she's actually being a lawyer, she prefers to be in her She-Hulk form.
That's the confidence, because it's the confidence that it's been shown. Even when they start showing the Criminal Hulk cartoon series, and when she became She-Hulk, her whole thing was different. She's like, oh no, I can't be Jennifer. Oh, She-Hulk is the best. She muscles and her whole vibe and everything. I love that. And when you look at the first trailer, you see the timidness of her when she was Hulk. It's even in the dress and that. She's like, okay, wait a minute. And then eventually, like you said, that confidence comes into play. I want to see that growth. I want to see that.
But yeah, I'm excited for the show. And here's the thing. There's a lot of people that don't even care that the show's being made. Which I can kind of understand, because in the grand scheme of Marvel, She-Hulk's kind of a middling character. Not necessarily on the low end, but not necessarily in the forefront of all the heroes.
Nope. But been around just as long as everybody else, though.
Right.
She earned her right. She has been a Fantastic Four member, Avenger member. I guess she might, like you said, she's not top tier, but she's not.
She's been the love interest of so many other heroes.
I hope she does well. And I hope that they need a new female character within the MCU itself.
The one thing I'm starting to realize, which is the only disappointment I see in this show, is one of the things that I love about the MCU with how they're doing their Disney Plus shows, is every show has kind of been different. WandaVision was kind of set up like old school sitcoms. They told a story behind it, and as the show goes on, it eventually does kind of take on that MCU feel. Mm-hmm. But you kind of get this. It felt like sitcoms as you were watching them, but it
was the reason why, like you said, she went to a place of comfort. The sitcoms was the moment that she had with her family. That's what it really was for me. That's why she chose those specific shows, because, like you said, it was togetherness, the love that she felt at that moment for her family. And which she lost that family. Then she lost her brother. and then she lost the love of her life. That's why all those were connected nicely together.
But and then Falcon and Winter Soldier did have that more MCU feel in the way that it was portrayed, but they also, again, they put the race issue in the forefront of everything that was going on. And then Hawkeye definitely felt kind of like a little Christmas special.
I feel like it was a Christmas special. It was a Christmas special.
But also still told its own story.
It did.
You look at even at Moon Knight, it was as much as I sit here and shit on it, it still had that... It had more of a mystery feel, like you were trying to figure out what was going on. Like they tried to do M. Night Shyamalan, but did it completely incorrectly. But...
You really have to feel they shitting on this show.
But no, every show has kind of had its own feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they announced when She-Hulk was first announced is they wanted to make it an almost Law and Order type show, where it was more of a courtroom drama. And I was really looking forward to that because I like Law and Order. At least I used to. I don't watch it anymore. But
that could have been Daredevil with a little action on the side.
Right. But Netflix wouldn't go that route. They were building something completely different. But I was like, it's a different kind of show, and it would be kind of cool to see an actual superhero with superpowers being a lawyer on and off throughout the show. And I do think we're going to get some of that, because obviously she's dealing with Blansky.
I like the fact he could transform in and out too.
Right. Apparently she's supposed to be defending him.
Yep.
Is what I'm hearing.
That was the trailer was crazy. He said, "Wait, this is conflict of interest. He tried to kill my cousin," and the dude was like, "Okay," he just dismissed it like, "Okay." How many people did try to kill your cousin?
But I'm also guessing she's not probably going to be defending him from a murder standpoint, like she's trying to get him off. It's probably going to be more of she's going to be defending him to try and have a lighter term that's not so much like maybe life, no parole in the raft. Or something along those lines.
Okay, now again, when we look at this is right after New York. Because this is Shang-Chi. Like I said, he's fighting over here. So like I said, that whole arch coming right back here. So it's right after the New York incident. So, damn. I mean, he's been sitting in prison for a while.
I don't think it'll be that. I think it's going to take place more along the lines of probably around No Way Home. Is where I'm going to place it, because with Wong being involved too, him and Blonsky were doing the setups for the fights in Shang-Chi.
But this is what I'm saying. Just think about this. How long have you been in prison? Because let's look at it before the Avengers, because they talk about it. Oh, I see what you did in New York and everything else. So that's from Avengers all to where we at now. You've been sitting in prison for a minute,
right?
And it was the secret facility anyway. So why would they have you defend? You're gonna be the first villain / hero that's gonna be defended by her. Why would they choose this character?
Just because it ties in with Bruce, and they've got the rights to use the character, so they're like,
now they
it.
can, yeah. Because they might. Will they show Long and Kirk because they got their partners, they got their agreements? Because technically, that would be kind of nice that she's defending the heroes, society.
Right. Also, by the way, Marvel, can we work on that show that everybody was wanting, the Jimmy Woo story that's kind of like X-Files? Do you know how amazing that would be?
That would be cool as shit. But eventually, he ended up running his own team of all Asian heroes. That would be kind of cool.
I'm saying it's a good place to start.
And
X-Files, now here's the thing, I'm not saying X-Files in terms of dealing with aliens and stuff, but just an X-Files almost set up show where he keeps running into just dumb shit that happens because of superheroes in the world.
That would be kind of cool.
That he has to take care of.
Guess again. Long was actually a prime example, sitting there in his office. What's going on now? Oh, okay. You probably doing this? Okay, now I gotta go over here. Like you said, I was parole, watching this one hero, Ant-Man, telling not to do nothing. And then I go over here to Wanda, who's wrecking shit. What else I ever have to go do?
Right.
Kind of cool and everything else. I will actually watch this show. He's funny as hell as an actor. I will watch this show.
I loved his character in fucking Ant-Man 2, dude. It was fucking hilarious. Or, I'm sorry, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I will watch it. I really will watch it. I will watch it.
Anyways, but yeah, so that's the end. This show sucks. We gotta continue it though. Thankfully, it's only gonna be 3 full weeks of this shit.
Yeah. I'm so mad that you dragged me into this raggedy ass shit.
Look, if it means
show.
anything, I'm disappointed too because I was super excited when I drew the fucking thing out. I was like, hell yeah. Honestly, I think there was also a part of it that was like something from the 90s that I grew up watching, and this is not the season I apparently watched most of.
Season 2.
Because this shit is just absolute garbage.
So season 2 is what we watched. Because again, I don't remember watching the first ones like that. It was season 2. So I'm kind of with you on that one.
I didn't even remember there was a secondary fucking intro. I always thought in my mind the only intro was the I Am Iron Man intro. And no. And it's so cheesy too because like in the intro it's like this stupid synth song that's just playing that doesn't even fit a fucking comic story. And they're literally just showing characters with their names and spiky bubbles.
Yes, that was the funny part.
And I'm like, Mandarin, War Machine. They don't even show everybody. They show like 3 people from each team. Like they didn't even show the entire superheroes fucking team. It was like Iron Man, War Machine, and then I think the other one was Hawkeye. And they didn't even...
The rest of them didn't matter. That just proves you right there. None of the characters matter, except for the main people.
And then they show like Mandarin, MODOK, and then like Whirlwind. I'm like, Whirlwind?
That was it. No. They showed the gray guy. They showed him dropping. They showed him dropping.
Well, they show characters, but they didn't show their names to all of them.
I think all the bad guys got their names shown.
They might have. Probably because most of us don't even know who the fuck most of them are.
That's probably why. But the guys, the good guys was, they had so much credit. But no, Iron Man just did season 2.
But yeah, 4 more episodes next week. And then,
it's gonna be funny.
You get to hear shit on it some more. So,
really bad.
Thanks everybody that watches. Thanks for hanging out. We love y'all. And we'll see y'all next time. Excelsior, bitches.